The moment Shenle made a breakthrough, it was already destined that eldest senior brother would embark on the path of no return. Not only did he embark on that path, but he also took away a true ominous above the dominator level. With his own strength, even Li Daoi, at his peak, still failed to completely eliminate the ominous. He relied on the guardian of the divine realm, Jing Guanming, to suppress the remaining trace of the ominous for an entire era before completely obliterating the ominous after Han Fei appeared. However, eldest senior brother took away an ominous creature alone. From this point of view, it could be said that no one had done this before. He was the only person in the history of the Sea of Stars who had completely taken away an ominous creature alone. Eldest senior brother, rest in peace. Everyone from the Void Temple couldn't help but be moved. They didn't even have the time to say goodbye and didn't see their eldest senior brother one last time. They could only bow deeply in the direction of the path of no return. The dominator-level ominous that was fighting Han Fei naturally knew what had happened and immediately flew into a rage. Void, Shenlu, time and death god were the greatest obstacles for them to destroy the Sea of Stars. They had been preparing and waiting for too long. At this moment, they were naturally unwilling to accept this. As soon as senior brother Undead appeared, he was about to go straight to Han Fei, when Shenle shouted, "Old 3, kill all the dominator-level ominous creatures outside the Myriad God Palace." Hearing this, senior brother Undead also stopped, carrying a black coffin on his back, standing among the countless ominous things. How could he be weak if he could fight a powerhouse above the dominator level with his eldest senior brother? In the past, it had only been a moment since senior brother Undead killed the dominator level ominous. Now with the enhancement of the black coffin, his skeleton hand actually ignored the invasion of the ominous mist and grabbed 2 dominator-level ominous creatures, pulling them to the left and right of the black coffin. Everyone saw that the 2 dominator-level ominous creatures turned into a pool of black liquid at a visible speed and were sucked into the black coffin. Seeing that senior brother Undead had come, the dominator-level ominous fighting Han Fei naturally knew that the real ominous had been taken away. This meant that the attack plan this time might be in a stalemate for the time being. Retreat. Although the ominous was unwilling, it was the truth. Void was gone, but here came Shenlu. Besides, although Han Fei was still not strong enough, with the demon purification pot, he could barely restrain him. The boundless ominous mist quickly began to dissipate and penetrate the endless void. And the dominator-level ominous that was entangled by Han Fei seemed to have finally given up advancing. However, at this point, how could senior sister Shenlu let him get his way? "Don't you think it's too late to retreat now?" Senior sister Shenle screamed, sky-splitting. At that moment, in the Sea of Stars, in the endless sky, darkness opened as if the world had collapsed. This blow, enough to twist and annihilate millions of stars, smashed down. Rumble. With the dominator-level ominous as the center, a terrifying law storm was set off. In the violent law, blood beads were falling, and light was like a sword attacking here. Han Fei clung to the dominator-level ominous. He didn't want another ominous to appear after eldest senior brother took away one. In that case, the Sea of Stars would still be in danger like in the primordial era. For a moment, the blocking of the billions of purifying stars on the Skynet. Senior sister Shen Li's terrifying outburst, and Han Fei's siege with the demon purification pot made the dominator-level ominous almost isolated and helpless. In particular, senior sister Shunli's breakthrough seemed to have caused her combat power to soar too much. The claw tore down, making Han Fei feel that even his invincible body in his peak state could probably only block one blow of hers. Crack. Sure enough, although the Dominator level ominous was strong, its body was torn apart at once. The infinite ominous aura was burned into dark red flames. The surrounding light of purification crazily swept away the ominous aura on the surface of its body. Seeing this, Han Fei rushed up with the invincible body. This time, Han Fei knew that the other party had the gray powder, but he still stepped forward resolutely. As long as he resisted the gray powder once, while creating an opportunity for senior sister Shunlu, he could also create an opportunity for the demon purification pot. Once this Dominator level ominous was caught by the demon purification pot, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he had wings. Swish. 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 Millions of chains of laws of life, like divine chains of order spreading out between the heavens and earth, intertwined in the void. However, such chains of laws certainly couldn't catch this Dominator level ominous rumble. However, in this void, billions of lightning bolts suddenly sounded, thunder and fire grew, and the lightning ring spread out like ripples, temporarily sealing this domain. Han Fei, on the other hand, turned into lightning marks that filled the sky and arrived in front of the Dominator level ominous at an extreme speed. At an extremely short distance, the 10 vines of the demon purification pot between his eyebrows broke through the void and grabbed the Dominator level ominous. Humph, die. At this critical moment, the Dominator level ominous aura burst out and was about to cover Han Fei in an instant. And Han Fei also felt the strange power of the gray powder touch the invincible body at the same time. As the saying went, the braver would win if they met on a narrow path. Han Fei's almost extinguished invincible body temporarily shone and resisted the gray mist. At this moment, with multiple piercing sounds, the demon purification pot finally attached onto the Dominator level ominous. And Han Fei was only inches away from the Dominator level ominous. Information about the Dominator level ominous immediately appeared in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, senior sister Shunlu and Han Fei moved too fast and decisively. This Dominator level ominous also realized that the other party was determined to take him down. The moment the demon purification pot caught him, he roared, "Sacrifice!" Buzz. At that moment, this Dominator level ominous body burned with black flames. With this ominous body as the center, billions of kilometers of sky were locked down. Because he was too close to the Dominator ominous, in Han Fei's eyes, the information of the Dominator ominous had changed. Name: Primordial Tao Ancestors Ominous Body. Introduction: An ominous body of the Supreme Dominator of the Primordial Starseed, born because of the corrosion of the ominous. Because it has the power to dominate the world, even if it is corroded by the ominous, it can still have indelible intelligence. However, the ominous body is only a part of the primordial Tao ancestor. Only when the primordial star seed is completely swallowed can the ominous body become the supreme dominator. Ominous level. Realm Tao ancestor. Battle technique: ominous. Collectible: Tao domain crystal. Absorbable. Remarks. Yes, the moment the dominator level ominous burned itself, its information changed, turning into the ominous level. At the same time, Han Fei learned another piece of information. Sure enough, There was another place similar to the chaotic star sea in this world, and this Dominator-level ominous was born from the primordial star sea. Little junior brother, retreat. Everything happened too quickly. Han Fei had only wanted to hold back the Dominator-level ominous, but he didn't expect this guy to be so crazy in the end. He sacrificed himself in exchange for the ominous-level power. Shenlu held a feather in her hand, which was like the sharpest blade, piercing through this locked space in one fell swoop. Hearing that, Han Fei certainly didn't dare to be negligent and quickly retreated. However, the burning ominous sneered. Do you think you've won? You don't know that this is just the beginning. Human Emperor, go with me. With that, the Dominator-level ominous pushed forward, and the road in front of Shenlu completely collapsed, turning into an abyss that led to the unknown. Little junior brother. Senior sister Shenli's face changed drastically. A red light flashed between her eyebrows, and a life feather crossed the abyss. Shenlu stepped on the burning feather, forcibly rushed into this unknown place that didn't belong to the chaotic star sea, and grabbed Han Fei. However, this abyss carried an infinite suction force. Even Shenlu, who had made a breakthrough, couldn't break free from the collapsing force. At this moment, the demon purification pot was clinging to the ominous body. Han Fei couldn't break free even if he wanted to. He didn't expect this situation. At this moment, the figures of Xia Shaochan, Han Chani, Shiman Linglan and the others appeared in his mind. No. Eldest senior brother had embarked on the path of no return. The chaotic Starseek couldn't be left unguarded. Otherwise, the master of time and the death god alone wouldn't be able to withstand the ominous. Once senior sister Shenlu fell with him, all races in the abyss would be destroyed. And Xia Shaochan, Shiman Linglan, Han Chani, Zhang Xuanyu, and the others would die too. No, I can't let this happen. Han Fei roared, Senior sister, the 6 divine realms are in my origin star. Little junior brother. Senior sister, someone must guard the sea of stars. Please protect my wife and children. I might be able to return. Han Fei looked determined, and the blade of hope appeared in his hand. With a swish, the blade of hope took Shenlu to fly away from the dark abyss. Tweet. Senior sister Shenlu wailed, Little junior brother, take my life feather. It can burn everything for 3 days. As soon as he said so, the two disappeared from each other's vision. Tweet. Outside the myriad god palace, a divine bird wailed. It was naturally Senior Sister Shenlu. At this moment, Senior Sister Shenlu stood proudly on the 9-turn heavenly wheel, and boundless blood chi directly covered the 3 surrounding seas of stars. Sky-burning fury. Hula. The blood and chi burned the air, and the billions of ominous creatures that were rapidly retreating were burned and annihilated by this furious blood and chi. Billions of ominous creatures were swept away by this blood and chi fire. Nearly 10 Dominator-level ominous creatures were burnt into nothingness by this violent fury. Outside the myriad god palace, peace finally came. Countless strong masters of the myriad races were shocked for a long time and shouted, we won, we won. Ha ha ha. We repelled the ominous. Is the war finally over? How did we win? The ominous really retreated. These people all looked at Shenlu with admiration in their eyes. However, only a few people noticed the blade of hope in Shenli's hand. When Shiman Linglan saw that there was only one blade of hope left, her heart skipped a beat. Swish. Shiman Linglan appeared in front of Shenlu, her eyes bloodshot. In the next moment, Senior Brother Azure Dragon, 5th Senior Brother, Lei Heng, 6th God, Han Guanshu, and Jiang Linxian, all came to Shenlu. Xia Xiaochan, who clearly realized that something was wrong, hurriedly pulled Han Chani to the 9-turn heavenly wheel. Xiaochan knew the Blade of Hope. She knew that this was Shimen Linglan's talent knife, an existence of the same type as her spiritual beast. Most people in the world had awakened spiritual beasts, but there were also extremely rare people who had awakened weapons. Shimen Linglan was such a person. Xiaochan knew that there were 2 blades of hope. At this moment, it was definitely not a good thing that one of them appeared in Shenli's hand. Xiaochan asked, Senior Shenlu, where is he? Everyone present was not stupid. The ominous had retreated. Shenlu, the top powerhouse of the Void Temple, had returned, and the Master of Time was still here, but Han Fei hadn't returned. What this meant was almost self-evident. Feeling Xiaochan's slightly trembling hand and Shimen Linglan's extremely ugly expression, Han Chani's eyelids twitched. Where is my father? He just said that he would come to me. Where's my father? Alas. Senior Brother Azure Dragon sighed slightly and didn't speak. Jiang Linxian's voice was also extremely cold. Fellow Daoist Shenlu, what happened? Shenli's expression was ugly. After a few seconds of silence, she slowly said, if I've guessed right, little junior brother was dragged into the world where the ominous is. Buzz. Xiaochan's body trembled slightly, and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. An ominous world? That was a place that no one had ever set foot in. The ominous had fought against all races for several eras, but no one had ever entered an ominous world and returned. Lei Hing said, Senior Sister Shenlu, haven't you killed your way in? However, Shenlu shook her head slightly. I've killed my way into the depths of the ominous mist, but I haven't killed my way into the ominous world. Hearing this, Xiaochan couldn't help but feel a trace of hope. Isn't it said that the ominous was created by the destruction of the myriad races? Why? Is there a separate world? If that's the case, it means that he might still be alive. 5th Senior Brother heaved a long sigh. That's true and false. Negative. Power can indeed create the ominous, but it's not the real source of the ominous. In the primordial era, a person once fought to the source of the ominous, only to find that it was actually a channel that led to the endless void. Therefore, negative power creates the ominous. It's just a way of birth. But it's not the source of the ominous. Perhaps, the world where the ominous is located is similar to the chaotic star sea, and there is also war there. If little junior brother really goes there, it's indeed possible that he is still alive. 5th Senior Brother could only give Xiaochan and the others hope, but this hope seemed pale in the ears of everyone. At this moment, Shimen Linglan said firmly, he is still alive. Everyone looked at Shimen Linglan, who took the Blade of Hope and said, the Blade of Hope is my talent weapon. If it's not damaged, it means that Han Fei is still alive. Buzz. At the same time as the crisis in the chaotic star sea was resolved, Han Fei stepped on a feather in this boundless dark abyss and held a Blade of Hope. The demon purification pot no longer had a target. The Dominator-level ominous was completely annihilated after sacrificing itself at the last moment and temporarily surpassing the Dominator level. Cough, cough. Han Fei coughed, and black blood appeared in his palm. His invincible body had long been extinguished. Han Fei didn't expect the Dominator-level ominous to be so crazy. It was only one step away from becoming a dominator, but it was still sacrificing itself? Didn't these ominous cherish him at all? He had wanted to use his invincible body to resist for a while, thinking that when senior sister Shunlu came, the situation would definitely change. Who would have expected such a thing to happen? At this moment, he was contaminated by the gray powder. The moment the Dominator-level ominous sacrificed itself and temporarily surpassed the Dominator level, his invincible body was broken. As soon as the invincible golden body was broken, Han Fei was contaminated by the gray powder. The coughing began at that moment, as if an inexplicable power was circulating in his body, destroying his supreme body. If it weren't for the fact that his physique was abnormally strong, that he had mastered the law of life, and that he was so strong, he wouldn't have been able to last a moment before he died. Even now, he was not in a good state. Affected by the power of the powder, his combat power was roughly weakened by 20%. Originally, Han Fei's basic combat power was only 12 pieces of Star River origin. Now that it had been weakened by 20%, it meant that his basic combat power was less than 10 pieces of Star River origin. Buzz. Suddenly, Han Fei fell into an ominous mist from the abyss. A space contaminated by the ominous? At this moment, because Han Fei had to suppress the strange power of the powder in his body, the divine brilliance on his body had long dimmed. Suddenly trapped in this dense ominous mist, only the faint divine brilliance on the surface of his body was left. At the same time, Han Fei's heart stirred. Since there was an ominous mist, he should have come to a space in the sea of stars. However, this place was completely made of ominous mist, and he couldn't release his perception at all. At this moment, Han Fei saw dozens of god-slaying level ominous creatures gathering from all directions. God-slaying level? Yes, the ominous here was at the god-slaying level as soon as it appeared. In fact, Dominator-level ominous creatures appeared in a moment. There were more and more ominous creatures around, and their levels were not low. He couldn't see any of them below the Doomsday level. Obviously, he had really entered the ominous nest this time. Human powerhouses are really rare. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a black Taoist robe sat on an ominous giant deer and slowly walked over. Han Fei's pupils were constricted slightly. Primordial Tao ancestor? Han Fei sensed the same ominous aura from this person as the one who dragged him in just now. The Taoist nodded slightly. A human supreme? Fortunately, you haven't fully grown up yet. Otherwise, you would be a little difficult to deal with. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. He was not stupid. Since this person had admitted his ominous body, it was equivalent to telling Han Fei that he was a powerhouse above the Dominator level, a real ominous level powerhouse. And this was the primordial star sea, a place similar to the chaotic star sea. Perhaps, in an ancient period, there was once a channel between these two seas of stars, so there was primordial mist in the chaotic star sea. Faced with such a strong master, Han Fei knew that under such circumstances, it was probably useless even if he walked the Tao of all living beings. The only solution now was to swallow the fruit of creation. This was because the information the demon purification pot had seen before told him that the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor hadn't completely swallowed the primordial star sea. Han Fei snorted. Although the sea of stars is occupied by you, the laws of the world exist, which means that you haven't completely controlled the sea of stars. If that's the case, you might not be able to take me down. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor said indifferently, you've been contaminated with ominous matter. Sooner or later, you'll become one of us. Why struggle? Be asteriskal shit. Han Fei sneered. Since you know me, you should know that the demon purification pot is also in my hands. If I'm contaminated by the ominous substance, the demon purification pot can absorb it immediately. The dark primordial Tao ancestor was not in a hurry. Instead, he said calmly, you keep calling us ominous, but do you know what the real ominous is? You don't. Not only do you not know, but even the word ominous is transmitted from our mouths. Although the demon purification pot is powerful, do you know that? It's just a container to store the ominous. Besides, there is more than one such container. What are you talking about? Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Do you think I'll believe you? The primordial Tao ancestor smiled and said, believe it or not, it has nothing to do with me. The real ominous things have never been us, but those suppressed ominous things. However, for you and me, what's the difference if you are contaminated by the ominous things? For example, even if you are contaminated by the ominous things, you can still maintain your consciousness. Have all the combat skills you know, and know all the great dash you have mastered. Therefore, is there any difference between you before you are contaminated by the ominous things, and you after you are contaminated by the ominous things? Han Fei sneered. What about those below the doomsday level? The primordial Tao ancestor smiled. They're just nutrients. We control the sea of stars, and all living beings are at our mercy. You can understand that. This sea of stars is just a vast farm. Every once in a while, we have to harvest them, and you and I are both beneficiaries. Be asteriskal shit. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor's words were getting more and more ridiculous. His thoughts might already be abnormal. This was even more terrifying than treating all living beings as ants. Ordinary people wouldn't trample on ants. However, this primordial Tao ancestor wanted to harvest a sea of stars as his nutrients. In his eyes, the creatures of all races were just resources. The primordial Tao ancestor said indifferently, I've already told you the whole story. If you join us, I can give you the chaotic star sea. Otherwise, I can only cut off your path. It's a waste of your talent. You shouldn't end up like this. Han Fei laughed. Invite me to join you? Okay. Then give me a few bottles of the gray powder first. The primordial Tao ancestor shook his head gently. Ominous matter is extremely rare. It's not something you can get just because you want it. Besides, if you're not sincere, I'm afraid I can't give it to you. Han Fei's heart stirred. Is the gray powder that looks like gangrene really something good for ominous creatures? Han Fei said again, if you want me to join you, you have to give me some benefits, right? How can I join you without any benefits? The primordial Tao ancestor smiled and said, didn't I say that the chaotic star sea can be given to you? Han Fei rolled his eyes. I want tangible benefits. Don't draw pancakes for me. Besides, if I really want the chaotic star sea, do I need you to give it to me? The primordial Tao ancestor sighed softly. People are stupid. With your current situation, there's really no need for me to lie to you. I just cherish talent. After all, in this endless era, there are very few companions. It's really lonely. I'll give you one last chance to accept the gift of the ominous matter. Otherwise, I can only solve you myself. Faced with the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor and the increasing number of Dominator-level ominous creatures around him, Han Fei knew that he had no way out. Han Fei said, "Last question. What are you pursuing? With your strength, it should be a matter of time for you to control the primordial star sea. But even if you really completely control the primordial star sea, what can you get? This sea of stars has become your nutrients. No matter how strong you are, what's the point?" Faced with Han Fei's question, the ominous body pondered for a long time and then said with a sigh, "You've successfully evoked my memories. Before I encountered the ominous matter, I had nothing to ask for. But at this moment, what I pursue is probably the more mysterious unknown. Don't you want to see the world outside the primordial star sea and the chaotic star sea?" Han Fei sneered. "If it weren't for you, to be honest, I really wouldn't want to. However, I'm very satisfied with your answer. I already know what I want to know." Without hesitation, Han Fei grabbed the life feather that Shenlu left for him and shouted, "You've probably forgotten your original intention. I'd better not join you." Buzz. Han Fei ignited the life feather. In the next moment, the surrounding space and laws distorted, and infinite blood chi burst out of the feather and then began to burn. With a swish, many doomsday-level ominous creatures around were ignited by this sudden chi and blood and were instantly incinerated. Where there was life, there was the law of life. Under the envelopment of Han Fei's law of life, thousands of doomsday-level ominous creatures were instantly burned up. However, as soon as the power of the feather erupted, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor shot out an endless ominous mist, forcibly protecting the ominous creatures here. The ominous body snorted. "I treat you with sincerity, but you failed me. In that case, don't blame me." With that, the ominous figure instantly disappeared from the giant deer. As it attacked, Han Fei felt that all laws in the world turned into divine chains of laws that swept over. Yes, almost all the laws of the heavenly Tao and the primordial star sea were controlled by the primordial Tao ancestor. The other party knew all the laws Han Fei could use. As a result, the other party could easily borrow the power of the world and activate all the laws in the world with a raise of his hand. Bang! 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 Fortunately, after senior sister Shenli's breakthrough, her strength was probably not weak. This life feather was said to be able to burn everything for 3 days. Therefore, when these law-divine chains appeared around him, they were immediately burned apart and couldn't penetrate him. The primordial Tao ancestor's voice floated in Han Fei's ears. A dominator is a dominator after all. No matter how strong Shenlu is, she can't take the last step. The power of this feather can only delay your death. When the power of this feather is exhausted, I will occupy your body and corrode your soul. I will turn you into an ominous creature and make you return to the chaotic star. See? Han Fei roared, "I'm afraid you don't have the ability." With a flip of his hand, the vast ocean navigator appeared in his palm. As he issued an order in his heart, the vast ocean navigator began to spin. Seeing this, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, there is still an uncorroded world in the primordial star sea. Before, Han Fei's last question was not about what the ominous body pursued at all, but to know his control of the primordial star sea. If the primordial star sea had completely fallen and only a little bit of the heavenly Tao was fighting it, he might indeed have no way out. However, through the vast ocean navigator, he learned that there was still pure land here. This meant that there was a certain power here fighting it, and that was where he was going. Han Fei tried to go directly to the pure land through a world similar to the source power of the Star River. However, this was not the chaotic Star Sea. Some powers were not under his control at all. He couldn't go to any place in the Sea of Stars in an instant, like in the chaotic Star Sea. Swish. Having no choice, Han Fei could only cross this ominous mist with the vast ocean navigator. Each time he crossed it, he just needed to cross 10 star rivers at most. Han Fei wanted to use the invincible body, but the ominous matter in his body was causing trouble, making it difficult for him to activate the invincible body. Han Fei had just crossed a small area of the Star River when the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor appeared in front of him. As he slapped down, a great Tao spiral burst out of his palm and pushed Han Fei back billions of kilometers of the Star River. Even with senior sister Shenli's life feather, it could only obliterate 50 to 60% of the power of this slap. The ominous voice was cold. This is my world. Where do you want to go? *CK off. You're just a remnant body, a negative aspect of others. You want to control a sea of stars? Dream on. With that, Han Fei turned into thousands of lightning marks, which crossed a Star River at the same time. Sure enough, this time, the primordial Tao ancestor couldn't appear in front of him immediately. In the thousand thunder flash, Han Fei could be any lightning mark unless the primordial Tao ancestor could block all the lightning marks at once. However, Han Fei wasn't happy for long. Among the thousands of lightning marks, in the blink of an eye, the lightning technique suddenly moved, and thousands of lightning marks instantly exploded. This time, Han Fei was not spared either. He was blown out, and all his bones were cracking. The primordial Tao ancestor smiled contemptuously. You used the laws of heaven and earth and the sea of stars under my control. Have you asked me? Han Fei's heart sank. This person was indeed terrifying. Under his control, if it weren't for senior sister Shenli's life feather, he wouldn't have been able to fight back. However, he couldn't go on like this. Because he needed to suppress the ominous matter, his combat power couldn't return to its peak at all. Even his invincible body was vaguely restrained by the ominous matter. And all he could use at this moment was that his basic combat power was less than 10 pieces of Star River source power. This made Han Fei's heart sink. Sure enough, no matter what, basic combat power was the most important. All powers enhanced by external means might be ineffective one day. Han Fei gritted his teeth and activated the 10,000 blood body again. Just now, at the moment the path of invincibility collapsed, the 10,000 blood body were also dispersed. At this moment, Han Fei couldn't care less. He used the 10,000 blood body inherited from his bloodline again. This was a power that forcibly absorbed the heavenly Tao into his body. Since the primordial star sea hadn't been completely corroded by the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor, he should be able to borrow power. Sure enough, the moment the heavenly Tao entered his body, Han Fei's strength barely reached the power of 13 star rivers. However, this was still not enough compared to the primordial Tao ancestor. In just a moment, Han Fei was penetrated thousands of times. In this endless, ominous mist, it was difficult for him to move. The ominous body said, "There's no need to try. It's impossible for you to reach there." The ominous waved its whisk and swept over. The whisk's black hair turned into billions of runes. In the blink of an eye, it sealed the sky and locked the earth, forcibly trapping Han Fei again. Between Han Fei's eyebrows, 10 vines of the demon purification pot appeared. At the same time, piercing through the rune in the blink of an eye and opening a path for him. Faced with the demon purification pot, even the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor was a little afraid. He said, "Even if you don't use the ominous power, how can you be my match merely with this?" In the next moment, fist lights, knife lights, sword chi, whip marks, and waves of laws filled the sky, trapping Han Fei. At this point, Han Fei knew that he probably couldn't escape. On the other party's home ground, he was too restricted. If it weren't for the protection of his life feather, he wouldn't have been able to move at all. Han Fei immediately stopped, and the demon purification pot appeared in his palm. And his hand was on the 10th vine of the demon purification pot. Here, there was a small fruit, which was the fruit of creation. Han Fei said coldly, "Old guy, do you know what this is?" Seeing that Han Fei stopped running, the primordial ancestor also stopped. He looked at the small vine on the demon purification pot and seemed a little afraid, but he didn't say anything. Seeing this, Han Fei's eyes glittered, and then he laughed. "Sure enough, you don't know it?" The fruit of creation was the only fruit born in the ultimate form of the demon purification pot. Once it was used, it couldn't be regenerated. This meant that so far, he was the only one who had obtained the fruit of creation. Even the primordial Tao ancestor didn't know the effect of the fruit of creation. Seeing this, the primordial Tao ancestor said indifferently, "The appearance of the 10th vine of the demon purification pot is not enough to suppress me. Besides, if this fruit is really so useful, wouldn't it be better to use it in the chaotic star sea? Why were you taken into the primordial star sea by me?" The primordial ancestor clearly didn't care. He didn't believe that a fruit could resolve Han Fei's current predicament. Han Fei also knew that he had no choice now. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor was right. One of Senior Sister Shunli's feathers couldn't withstand it for long. With his current strength, he could only take the beating passively. If that was the case, the power of the feathers might not even be able to last 3 days. In this endless ominous mist, it was almost impossible for him to pass the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor and go to the last pure land of the primordial star sea. Do you want to bet? If it was the chaotic star sea, he really didn't dare to bet. However, the heavenly Tao in the primordial star sea was incomplete, and there was only a pure land left here. The only thing he could bet on was that the remaining will of the heavenly Tao in the primordial star sea couldn't assimilate him. Han Fei murmured to himself. In the end, he became determined. Let's bet. Perhaps he might be assimilated by the will of the heavenly Tao here, but it was better than becoming an ominous creature. After all, he still had Han Song and Zhang Daqian. The avatars formed by all things three were essentially not clones, but original bodies. Besides, Han Fei had a bold idea. Crunch. Han Fei swallowed the fruit of creation in front of the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor. Seeing this, the latter retreated a little. In his opinion, Han Fei was just struggling in his death throes. But this fruit grew from the demon purification pot after all. He didn't have to take the risk. Buzz. The moment the fruit of creation entered Han Fei's mouth, he was immediately refreshed. At that moment, he felt that a supreme will suddenly surged into his body. In the next moment, with Han Fei as the center, a primordial mist bloomed, and the laws of the heavens formed a storm, sweeping him into it. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor frowned and attacked brazenly. With the power of the heavenly Tao he had mastered, he pushed forward. With a loud rumbling sound, a purple gas stream of light burst out, instantly purifying the ominous mist in the surrounding void. Remnants of the heavenly Tao? The primordial Tao ancestor's ominous body saw that Han Fei's flesh and blood were disintegrating. Many great Taos and 100,000 laws that escaped from his body were interwoven with the remnants of the heavenly Tao. He shouted angrily, "You're simply stupid. Even if you are a supreme, how can you swallow the will of the world? You might as well accept the baptism of the ominous matter." Roar. Han Fei had no time to care about the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor now. As soon as the fruit of creation entered his body, it was fusing with his flesh and blood. Even his supreme bones began to liquefy, turning into boundless Tao patterns. In terms of will, he felt that there was a supreme will that seemed to want to swallow him, but the supreme heart was no weaker than the heavens and was not controlled by the will of the world, so it could still hold on. After only a moment, Han Fei's body completely turned into nothingness. In this world, there was no Han Fei, only the supreme will still struggling. Even the ominous matter that tried to infect Han Fei was forcibly removed. Because Han Fei's body, soul, and will had completely turned into the heavenly Tao. Although the ominous matter tried to follow him, it was blocked by something. In his days, Han Fei seemed to sense this primordial star sea, infinite great Taos and laws, and rivers of stars and worlds. Besides, he felt that he could control everything. However, in this endless sea of stars, most places were already enveloped by gray-black mist. He saw dead stars, ominous creatures fighting each other in the mist, and some spiritual creatures of the world that had all grown pitch black. In this endless sea of stars, there was an invisible force that protected the 3,000 star rivers. Yes, in the vast primordial star sea, there were billions of star rivers, but now there were only 3,000 star rivers left. The reason why the 3,000 star rivers wasn't contaminated was that the 3,000 star rivers seemed to be attracted by something, forming a star river array similar to a large array. There were still living beings in the 3,000 star rivers. Han Fei scanned around with his mind and found that most of these living beings were natives. Han Fei was no stranger to these living beings. They were all from the 6 lineages. Among them, most creatures were mortals. There weren't many cultivators, and their strength was ordinary. However, there was actually a dominator level. A powerhouse here who was revered as the heavenly monarch. However, this heavenly monarch of the human race was very weak. His strength was only about the power of 3 star rivers. Well, he wasn't weak, but relatively speaking, he wasn't strong enough. Han Fei had learned a lot of things and some secrets, but he had no time to care about this now, because he had more important things to do. It's time. Han Fei dared to bet because the heavenly Tao of the primordial star sea was incomplete. He wanted to take the chance to comprehend the 3rd level of the Path of invincibility when he swallowed the fruit of creation and controlled the world. The third level of the path of invincibility was to swallow the sky and absorb the earth. It controlled the power of the world and refined a star domain. With a thought, one could obtain the power of a domain, maintain the invincible momentum, and greatly increase their strength. He had already transformed into the heavenly Tao, so he should be able to grasp the third level of the path of invincibility. However, since he had already transformed into the heavenly Tao, who would care about the path of invincibility? At this moment, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor roared. Because Han Fei disappeared in front of him, turned into the law of the heavenly Tao, and dissipated without a trace. Transform into the heavenly Tao? Okay, it just so happens that I was worried that I couldn't corrode the 3,000 star rivers. Since you took the initiative to transform into the heavenly Tao, I'd like to see how much you can grow. At the same time, in the primordial star sea, in the 3,000 pure land, the heavenly monarch of the human race, who was guarding the heavenly palace, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the sky. In the next moment, his expression suddenly changed. Between the heavens and earth, the great Tao was expanding, and the rules began to be messed up. He hurriedly tried to trigger all the laws in the world. However, the laws here were completely uncontrollable. Swish! 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 One figure after another appeared in front of the heavenly monarch of the human race. Master Heavenly Monarch, the heavenly Tao is in chaos. Master Heavenly Monarch, we can't borrow the power of the heavens and earth. Is there a problem on the dark border? The human heavenly monarch said solemnly, don't panic yet. It's a little strange. The myriad Taos in the heavens don't seem to be as simple as just becoming chaotic. It's more like they've changed their operation method. However, as soon as he said so, his face changed. In the next moment, he shouted, the otherworldly sky fiends are gathering. Everyone, follow me to the border. Countless strong masters in the 3,000 pure land were summoned to the border of the Star River together. However, they didn't seem to know what they were going to face at all. At this moment, Han Fei was controlling the myriad laws of this world. Since he had transformed the world, controlling the power of the world was just a matter of course. Therefore, the third level of the path of invincibility was cleared almost instantly without needing any comprehension. Now, Han Fei's will, with the enhancement of the fruit of creation, completely covered the 3,000 star rivers. In theory, he should be able to mobilize the power of the 3,000 star rivers. But in fact, he discovered that he could only burst out 49 pieces of star river source power. This was a contradictory comprehension. His will controlled 3,000 star rivers, but his power could only control 49 star rivers. After carrying 49 star rivers of origin power, Han Fei felt an unknown power blocking in front of him. How is this possible? Isn't it said that taking the fruit of creation can obtain power above the dominator level? Why am I stuck at 49 pieces of star river source power? Could it be that the heavenly Tao of the primordial star sea is incomplete? So even the fruit of creation can't help me directly cross the limit of 49 pieces of star river source power? Just as Han Fei was wondering, suddenly, a certain will collided with him. In the next moment, Han Fei felt that another will was talking to him in the 3,000 star rivers. Han Fei seemed to see a futon on the 9 high clouds, and on the futon was the primordial Tao ancestor who had just been chasing him. The primordial Tao ancestor said, there are 50 great developments. Of them, 49 are used. One of them is the heavenly secrets. If you don't comprehend the heavenly secrets or the heavenly mandate, it's the limit of living beings. If you comprehend the heavenly secrets and comprehend the heavenly mandate, you can find one. Only then can you reach the heavens and transform into the heavens. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Are you the real primordial Tao ancestor? The middle-aged man's will replied, you can call me Hong Jun. Who is it? Han Fei was stunned. His will trembled, and all the Taos and techniques in the 3,000 star rivers trembled with him. Han Fei never expected to hear this name. It was said that Hong Jun was not a god, a human, a devil, or a demon, but an incarnation of the great Tao. Han Fei was also a little confused. He didn't expect the so-called primordial Tao ancestor to appear in front of him. You. What are you now? The middle-aged man was also formed by his will. He seemed to be sighing. In a sense, I'm already dead. I've already turned into the heavens. I'm nothing. Now. Han Fei was shocked. What do you mean? Senior, can you explain it clearly? Han Fei knew that this was the real primordial Tao ancestor. He must know a lot. Hong Jun said, how do you think the chaotic star sea was born? Han Fei's will trembled slightly, and Hong Jun continued, the ominous came and the primordial chaos was contaminated. If I, as a creature, was no match for it in the end, I could only go further. Unfortunately, I couldn't stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavens and could only transform into the heavenly Tao. However, by transforming into the heavenly Tao, I didn't really have infinite power. Instead, I transformed into a sea of stars. Therefore, I created the chaotic star sea. This is because I am the chaotic star sea. I am the great Tao. I am the myriad laws. I am the world. At that moment, the star river trembled, the great Tao rolled crazily, and all laws were messed up. Han Fei was shocked. Who would have expected that the infinite sea of stars was transformed from a cultivator? This simply subverted Han Fei's understanding. However, Han Fei was immediately puzzled. Since you've already turned into the heavens, why are you still here? Maybe it's because of him. In front of Hong Jun, there was a magical disk that seemed to evolve into an endless river of stars. Hong Jun said, this is the creation jade plate, which should be at the same level as the demon purification pot. It's this thing that protected the 3,000 star rivers and left the last world for the primordial star sea. It's also this thing that guarded my last wisp of will. A treasure at the same level as the demon purification pot? This was the first time Han Fei had seen a treasure that was on par with the demon purification pot, but at this moment, treasures were actually not important in Han Fei's opinion. Even if it was the demon purification pot, he was not omnipotent and couldn't really suppress the ominous. So, you sent the 6 lineages to the chaotic star sea? Yes. Were the so-called myriad races all transformed from you? At first, they were based on the evolution of the creatures in the primordial star sea, but all creatures have their own evolution. It can be said that those are brand new races. Han Fei asked, why do you have an ominous body? Hong Jun said, I couldn't stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavens and transform into the heavenly Tao, so I created an avatar and made 2 preparations. Unfortunately, this avatar fell into the hands of the ominous in the end. Han Fei was not surprised. If it were him, he would definitely not be willing to exist as the heavenly laws either. Han Fei asked, what is the ominous? Hong Jun said, I don't know. There are too many secrets in this world. Is the heavenly Tao we see really the heavenly Tao? People can't understand what they have never seen. They can't imagine it no matter how they think about it. The source of the ominous, as far as I know, is a forbidden dust sealed in the demon purification pot by the creation jade plate. As long as one is contaminated by it, it's extremely difficult to get rid of it and easy to take the wrong path. Han Fei was shocked. So is the demon purification pot really a container for ominous matter? No, is it a container, a seal, or what? Hong Jun seemed to be a little emotional. Or, it's just fish bait. As for what the fisherman wants to fish, I don't understand either. Han Fei wanted to ask more, but Hong Jun said, you're not in a good state at the moment. Although you walk the Supreme Tao, you're transforming into the heavens at the moment. Fortunately, there aren't many heavenly Taos left in the primordial star sea. Otherwise, you would have embarked on my old path. Han Fei thought to himself, that's right. I'm transforming into the heavens. The kind where I suffer a huge loss. I'm about to become the heavens, but I haven't obtained the power above the Dominator realm. However, he knew what the Supreme Tao Hong Jun was talking about, which was naturally the Supreme Technique. The Supreme Technique was not interfered with by the heavenly Tao and formed a kind of will on its own. However, if possible, he didn't want to swallow the fruit of creation. But he was forced into a corner. Han Fei immediately asked, Senior Hong Jun, how can I stop myself from transforming into the heavens? Han Fei felt that he had already achieved some of his goals. At least the third level of the path of invincibility had been unblocked the moment he entered the sky transformation realm. The ominous matter in his body seemed to be gone too. After all, he didn't even have a body now. If he could stop the heavens transforming process now, he should be able to unleash the combat power of a peak-level dominator. But this time, Hong Jun was silent for a long time before he slowly said, Your current state is very contradictory. In theory, you can't transform into the heavenly Tao because there aren't enough heavenly Tao left here to assimilate a powerhouse of your level. However, there is a power that forcibly transforms you into the heavenly Tao, causing you to have already fused with the remaining heavenly Tao here. Forget it, luck is on your side. You happen to appear in such an incomplete primordial star sea. Perhaps this is fate between you and me. I'll give you this creation jade plate. Refine it and it can help you escape this situation. A moment ago, Hong Jun said that he would give him the creation jade plate. In the next moment, a disc appeared in his will. Why did you give it to me so casually? Senior, you're giving me the creation jade plate just like that? Han Fei was very surprised. He didn't know or have heard of the creation jade disc, but this thing protected the 3,000 star seas and protected trillions of lives. It was a treasure on the same level as the demon purification pot. How could it be given to him just like that? Why? Han Fei had to ask why. At least, he wouldn't give the demon purification pot away. Hong Jun slowly said, actually, I've been waiting for a person to appear. I'm waiting for him to clear the supreme path and return to the primordial star. See to quell the ominous. Your arrival made me see a trace of hope. I've already passed away. What this wisp of my will can do is too limited. But someone has to carry the burden forward and fight against the ominous to unveil the last secret, right? Bang! At this moment, when Han Fei's will and Hong Juan's will were communicating, the two felt the impact at the heavenly Tao level at the same time. Almost at the same time, the two consciousnesses looked at the border of the 3,000 star seas. The powerful ominous creatures gathered together. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor riding a deer looked quietly at the invisible barrier. Behind him flowed the laws of the heavenly Tao, which were attacking the creation jade plate. At this moment, the heavenly monarch of the human race was guarding therewith. 2 sea-quelling god-level powerhouses, 9 god-slaying level powerhouses, and 300 gods. They seemed to be experienced in this matter and knew that these ominous creatures couldn't come over, so they didn't take the next step. However, regardless of whether the ominous creatures could come over or not, they had to be on guard. After all, if anything happened, they would be doomed. At this moment, among the 2 sea-quelling god-level powerhouses, beside the heavenly monarch of the human race, a female cultivator was puzzled. The otherworldly sky fiends are making a big scene this time. I remember the last time such a scene appeared was millions of years ago. The human nodded slightly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mobilized such a huge force. There's a problem with the heavenly Tao here. At this moment, the otherworldly sky fiends are attacking. There must be a connection between the two. We have to be careful. At this moment, the primordial Tao ancestor's ominous body slowly said, "Human Emperor, I know that your will is still there. With the remaining heavenly Tao of this world, it can't obliterate your will. Old guy, I know that you are there too. But one heaven can't accommodate 2 wills. One of you will always melt under the other party's will. Human Emperor, if the old guy attacks you, you might as well consider my previous proposal and accept the baptism of the ominous matter. Perhaps I can still accept you and allow you to walk the same path as me." Outside, the heavenly monarch and the others had thought that the otherworldly sky fiends would bewitch them, but this time, the other party wasn't talking to them at all. Human Emperor? Who is the human emperor? Who is old guy? Heavenly Tao? One heaven can't accommodate 2 wills? Everyone was dumbfounded. They had no idea what the primordial Tao ancestor was talking about. However, on the level of the will of the heavenly Tao, Han Fei was a little stunned. "Senior, is what he said true?" Hong Jun said calmly, as he said, "There is only one will of the heavens. The reason why you and I met is that our wills are fighting. Either my will melts, or your will dissipates." Han Fei couldn't help but feel that his will was shaken. However, this shaking was reflected in the world. A buzz was heard as if lightning was booming between the heavens and earth, or a faint mystic sounded in the sea of stars. However, Han Fei couldn't care less. He looked at Hong Jun. "If you give me the creation jade plate, what will happen to you?" Hong Jun smiled faintly. "It doesn't matter. I don't intend to sacrifice myself to make you. I gave you the creation jade disc because it has the ability to create everything in the world. Similarly, it can create your body again. As long as your body appears and your will returns, my will can be preserved." My avatar only mentioned that one heaven couldn't accommodate 2 wills, but didn't mention the ability of the creation jade disc because he wanted to lure you to attack me. Han Fei was relieved to hear that, but he was also horrified. In this realm, it was indeed difficult to distinguish what was real and what was fake. However, Han Fei said, if you give me the creation jade plate, who will protect the 3,000 star rivers? Hong Jun said, as long as you don't take the creation jade disc away, it will always envelop the 3,000 star rivers. Han Fei was overjoyed. From what Hong Jun said, he could leave the primordial Star Sea? Han Fei immediately asked, Senior, do you have a way to reach the chaotic Star Sea? Hong Jun said with mixed feelings, I have a way to reach the chaotic Star Sea. But that path has been sealed for too long. This path is also the one I left for the trillions of creatures in the 3,000 star rivers. You can't open it unless you have to. Now, you just need to refine the creation jade disc in peace. Han Fei didn't ask any more questions. He had already got the answer he wanted, as long as he could go back. In fact, Han Fei didn't even need to refine the creation jade disc. This thing would take the initiative to guide Han Fei's will to fuse with it. Han Fei gradually fell silent. Gradually, Han Fei suddenly felt something. It was that his lost supreme bone was returning and condensing again. Immediately afterward, his flesh, blood, meridians, and soul returned, which was like a dream. Han Fei felt as if he had taken a nap. When he suddenly woke up, he was in a boundless starry sky somewhere in the 3,000 star rivers. Han Fei suddenly opened his eyes and felt that his body was full of explosive energy. He couldn't help but look at his information. Information popped up. Level, Supreme Dominator. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, number 1. Star River Source Power, 49 pieces. First Spiritual Heritage, Origin Spiritual Heritage. Second Spiritual Heritage, Eternal Darkness Spiritual Heritage. First Spiritual Beast, Twin Yin-Yang Sky Swallowing Fish, God Slaying. Second Spiritual Beast, Emperor Sparrow, Master. Main Art, God Fiend Body. 49 pieces of Star River Source Power? Han Fei couldn't help but feel excited. Was it a blessing in disguise this time? Although he had used the fruit of creation and almost turned into the heavenly Tao, he survived by chance. As for the fruit of creation, although it didn't raise him above the Dominator level, it still gave him the terrifying power of 49 pieces of Star River Source Power. Han Fei wasn't very surprised about this, because at a certain moment after swallowing the fruit of creation, he felt that he could control 3,000 star rivers with a thought. Now, he only had the power of 49 star rivers. What's the big deal about it? Just as Han Fei was about to look away to find Hongjuan's will, he suddenly saw the levels of Little Black, Little White, and the Emperor Sparrow. It was fine for Little Black and Little White. They had been eating. After transcending the divine tribulation, it was only natural for them to become God Slayers. If they accumulated enough strength, it wouldn't be surprising for them to become sea-quelling gods. However, the Emperor Sparrow suddenly became a dominator from a peak level. Great Monarch? How is that possible? Han Fei was stunned. He cultivated the supreme divine technique, so he could become a supreme dominator from a peak-level great monarch in one go. Besides, his process of becoming a supreme dominator was extremely dangerous. However, what did the Emperor Sparrow do? Even if he had unified ferocious beasts and strange beasts and broken the ominous curse, it didn't make sense for him to break through from the peak of the great monarch realm to the dominator realm. That's not right. How long did it take for the creation jade plate to help me Rebuild? With a thought from Han Fei, a jade plate appeared in front of him. The runes on it were mysterious, as if they were branded with billions of rivers of stars. However, this time, the demon purification pot didn't show any description of the creation jade plate. Perhaps because the two were treasures of the same level, the demon purification pot couldn't recognize the creation jade plate. Immediately, Han Fei's will sank into the creation jade disk. For a moment, the 3,000 star rivers were all under the control of his will. Through the creation jade disk, Han Fei vaguely sensed the existence of Hongjun. Hongjuan's will touched his will, and he said, "Your path is indeed extraordinary. It's really a little difficult to rebuild it with the remnants of the heavenly Tao in the primordial star sea." Han Fei's heart stirred. "Senior, how long has it been since I started to rebuild my body?" "More than 8,600 years, but for you and me, it's just a blink of an eye." "How many years?" Han Fei almost jumped up on the spot. More than 8,000 years had passed in just a nap. If he slept, the chaotic star sea might be gone. Han Fei's face immediately changed. More than 8,000 years have passed, but the 3,000 star rivers are intact. This means that even if the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor gathers an army, it won't succeed. However, when he looked at it through the creation jade disk, he found that there were still many Dominator-level ominous creatures triggering the ominous mist, trying to corrode the power of the creation jade disk. "It's over." Han Fei's heart sank. In the blink of an eye, he came to the place where the ominous gathered. In Han Fei's eyes, the law of time surged and quickly traced back 8,600 years. In Han Fei's eyes, he saw the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor speak several times. "Human Emperor, I'll give you one last chance. Kill that old B** starred in hand over the 3,000 star rivers. Then I can let the chaotic star sea off." After waiting for a long time without a response, the ominous body said again, "Human Emperor, with your supreme will, you shouldn't have lost to this old guy. He's just a remnant will. How can he compete with your supreme will?" Seeing that there was still no response, the ominous body tried to lure Hongjun to speak again. "Old guy, there will come a day when the creation jade disk can't be defended. When I conquer the chaotic star sea, it will be your death." At this moment, Hongjun really responded. He said, "If you really had that ability, you would have taken down the chaotic star sea long ago." However, the moment Hongjun spoke, the ominous body was stunned. After a long time, it said, "Trash human emperor, you can't even take down a wisp of will." Hearing this, Han Fei had a strange expression. Obviously, Hongjun spoke on purpose to let his ominous body guess that he had won and annihilated his will. At that moment, Hongjuan's ominous body retreated, leaving only some Dominator-level powerhouses who kept triggering the ominous mist to attack the 3,000 star rivers. However, after about 2,300 years, the ominous body returned again and shouted, "At this place, old guy, I was almost deceived by you. You actually rebuilt his original body with the creation jade disk. No wonder over the years, the heavenly Tao of the 3,000 star rivers has begun to weaken. I didn't expect that one day, you would also bet trillions of lives on whether he could win." Hongjun said, "Why? Are you afraid?" The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor sneered. "With this incomplete heavenly Tao, it will take at least 20 to 30% of the power of the creation Jade plate to restore his original body. Can you hold on? Hong Jun didn't continue, but replied calmly, however, you are afraid. Once he returns to his original body, it will be difficult for you to stop him. Ha ha ha, I'm afraid? I'll make you regret it. Since you bet on him to win, I'll make you lose more thoroughly. The chaotic star sea can't be defended for long. When I take down the chaotic star sea first and break the creation jade plate, the two seas of stars will be mine and no one will be my match. As soon as he finished speaking, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor turned around and left. After more than 1,800 years, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor returned again. He said, "Old guy, the front line of the chaotic star sea has collapsed. I can't wait to share this joy with you. Let's see how much power the creation jade plate has lost." This time, Hong Jun didn't respond. As for his ominous body, he had tried to shake the creation jade plate for nearly 100 years. Han Fei could feel how powerful the collision of the power of the heavenly Tao was. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor seemed to have become stronger. Although it still didn't shake the creation jade plate, he wasn't anxious. He just let the dominator-level ominous creatures continue to attack, continuously trying to corrode the creation jade plate. As for him, he just left 2 words, just wait. Since he left that time, he hadn't returned to this place. The law of time in Han Fei's eyes dissipated, and his expression became abnormally solemn. The collapse of the entire battlefield in the chaotic star sea meant that the first battlefield was gone. Needless to say, the chaotic storm, one of the 7 divine realms, must have collapsed. Once the first battlefield collapsed, the last pure land of all the races in the Sea of Stars would be the Sea Realm. However, the power to guard the Sea Realm was limited. How long could the remaining 6 divine realms resist it? Now, the power of the chaotic star sea was definitely not enough. Although eldest senior brother had taken away the ominous attack would definitely not slow down. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor had probably personally taken action. Although senior sister Shenlu had replaced eldest senior brother, she was probably still in a difficult situation. In the past, it was eldest senior brother and senior brother undead who restrained the ominous, while senior sister Shenlu and the Master of Time were defending the front line. Even so, they were still retreating step by step. Now, if senior sister Shenlu was restraining the ominous, they would lose a top combat power like senior sister Shenlu on the main battlefield. Besides, senior sister Shenlu probably couldn't restrain the ominous alone. After all, even eldest senior brother needed the cooperation of senior brother undead. Besides, 8,600 years had passed since he entered the primordial star sea, which was enough for many things to happen in the chaotic star sea. Han Fei asked, "Senior, where is the road to the chaotic star sea?" Hong Jun replied, "Are you going over now?" Han Fei said, "Compared to the primordial star sea, the chaotic star sea needs me more." However, Hong Jun said, "I can tell you this path, but before that, I need you to do something. Consider it your repayment for my giving you the creation jade plate." At this moment, Han Fei finally understood that he didn't get the creation jade plate for nothing. There was no free lunch in the world. A treasure comparable to the demon purification pot was not simple in itself. Han Fei asked, "How long will it take?" Han Fei didn't ask about the difficulty of this matter, because what Hong Jun wanted him to do by paying him a treasure like the creation jade plate. Couldn't be simple. Sure enough, Hong Jun sighed. I don't know, but I'm afraid you have to go. There. Why? Han Fei frowned. What could be more important than the chaotic star sea that he had to go there? Hong Jun said, because that's the source of the ominous dissipation, the real source of the creation jade plate and the demon purification pot. Huh? Han Fei couldn't help but look up at the sky. Hong Jun's voice was ethereal. Aren't you curious why the ominous is said to be inexhaustible and eternal? The chaotic star sea has also destroyed more than one ominous creature, right? Why do they appear every once in a while? Are they the same one or many? I think you should be curious too, right? Of course, Han Fei was curious. In the chaotic era, the ominous appeared for the first time and was taken away by Xangtian and his teacher. In the primordial era, the ominous appeared for the second time, but two appeared. One was taken away by Li Daoi, and the other must have returned to the primordial star sea. Now, eldest senior brother had taken away one, but there was still the ominous body of the primordial Dao ancestor. Therefore, from the chaotic era to the doomsday era, a total of 3 real ominous had been taken away, including the ominous body of the primordial Dao ancestor. A total of 4 ominous level powerhouses had appeared. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, Senior, please enlighten me. Hong Jun said leisurely, this begins with the origin of the ominous. In the past, when I traveled the primordial star sea, I found 2 strange things at a border. One was the creation jade plate, and the other was the demon purification pot. At that time, I couldn't see through these 2 things, so I took them as treasures. However, when I opened the 2 things, it was the beginning of this catastrophe. In both of them, a gray powder was sealed, which was the ominous substance. The moment these ominous substances appeared, they corroded a hole in the border. Fortunately, the demon purification pot took the initiative to take action. 10 vines appeared at the same time and sealed the hole. I knew that something was wrong, so I didn't dare to take back the demon purification pot and left with the creation jade plate. Han Fei thought to himself, so that's why they're called the containers of the ominous. However, why did the creation jade plate and the demon purification pot appear in the primordial star sea? Hong Jun continued, over the endless years, I knew that the ominous matter was definitely not a good thing, but with the demon purification pot guarding it, nothing went wrong. Besides, the creation jade plate was too powerful, allowing me to grow quickly and eventually become the strongest in the primordial star sea. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. In fact, the ominous had quietly been born in this world. Han Fei was puzzled. Wasn't it blocked by the demon purification pot? Why was there an ominous? Negative. Han Fei immediately understood. So that was the reason. Hong Juan's answer was simple and direct. I didn't know until later that when the ominous matter was released, the negative side of all living beings in the world seems to have found an outlet to pour forth. As a result, the ominous became stronger and stronger. Although I killed it several times, as long as the negative side didn't disappear, it wouldn't really die. Han Fei nodded slightly. He knew this, and it was very similar to the Emperor Sparrow. The Emperor Sparrow was called ominous because of his undead characteristics. As long as there was a negative existence, the Emperor Sparrow could be resurrected. If it weren't for the fact that the Emperor Sparrow had always maintained absolute consciousness and wouldn't corrode. Others, it wouldn't be wrong to call him ominous. Of course, if there was really something wrong with the Emperor Sparrow, Han Fei would have had a problem long ago. It was impossible for him to become the current human emperor, let alone achieve his current achievements. Han Fei said, I can understand that, but this doesn't mean that the ominous is really immortal. In the chaotic star sea, there is an unknown road. As long as the ominous is taken to that road, they can never return. However, as soon as Han Fei asked this question, Hong Jun asked, being unable to return doesn't mean death. Do you know if they will die or not if they are led to that path? Han Fei choked. Who knew? I've never been on that road. How could I know if they will die or not? Hong Jun said, I know that path. Han Fei's eyes glittered. Was that road also transformed from you, senior? No. Hong Jun immediately denied it. Although I've turned into the chaotic star. See, the premise is that there is chaos. What I've turned into is Tao, the world, and all laws. It can only be said that I established the chaos and evolved into the chaotic star sea. Furthermore, after I transform into the heavens, I'm actually no longer alive. It's no different from death. Therefore, I know very little about the chaotic star sea. However, because I control the creation jade plate, I can retain some of my will. I've seen that path, but I don't know where that path leads to, nor can I imagine it. Perhaps it's a sea of stars, or a world that we are completely unfamiliar with. As for being unable to return, I'm not surprised. It's just like you can't cross the edge of the sea of stars, but you can't say that there is no sea of stars. Beyond the edge, there are no other creatures. Therefore, if the end of that path is another sea of stars, the result will be just like the primordial star sea and the chaotic star sea. It just brings ominousness to that sea of stars. Hong Juan's words made Han Fei think of a lot of things. What if that road was actually not a road that couldn't be returned, but just a pure channel? Hong Jun returned to the topic just now. Regardless of whether the ominous people who embarked on that path have died or not, there are always new ominous people being born. And the source of their birth is the place where I found the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate in the past. And what's there in that place? The opening in the sea of stars built by the ominous matter, as well as the ominous matter itself. From this, two guesses can be made. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, too? Firstly, being indestructible is fake. The ominous came through the opening in the sea of stars. The real mystery of the ominous lies behind the opening in the sea of stars. Secondly, the ominous being immortal and indestructible is true, but if what you said is true, that while the ominous that was taken into the path of return didn't die, a new ominous was born here, it can only mean that there has always been one so-called ominous. And it's very likely that it's that ominous substance. And the so-called ominous we see or fight are just puppet-like clones he created. Hearing Hong Juan's speculation, Han Fei frowned. After a long time, Han Fei said, so, according to senior speculation, as long as we block the opening in the sea of stars, no new ominous will appear. That's exactly what I mean. Han Fei said, so, senior, you want me to use the demon purification pot to suppress the opening in the sea of stars? Yes. Han Fei was a little tempted. Although the demon purification pot had followed him for so long. For him, the demon purification pot had actually made the best use of its resources. If he could suppress the source of the ominous, as long as he could defeat the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor, no matter how ominous there was left, it would only be cleared up. However, Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Senior, I have a question. Didn't you leave the demon purification pot there to suppress the opening in the Sea of Stars? Why did the demon purification pot appear in the chaotic sea?" Hong Jun seemed to be recalling. "In the past, I thought that I would be fine with the demon purification pot suppressing the hole in the breaking Sea of Stars. Until one day, a dominator other than me was suddenly born in the primordial star sea, and he found the sealed place and took down the demon purification pot. By the time I realized it, it was too late." Han Fei frowned. "A dominator was born in the primordial star sea. With your strength back then, you should be able to detect it, right?" Hong Jun sighed slightly. "This is also what I found strange. The person who took the demon purification pot must have taken it under the ominous temptation. Then, he exiled the demon purification pot to an inaccessible chaos with an unknown method. It was not until that moment that I learned that the primordial star sea was not the only sea of stars. Without the demon purification pot, I had fought the ominous for countless years, studied countless methods, and created countless treasures, but none of them could replace the demon purification pot to suppress that place. Even the creation jade plate was not enough. The creation jade plate was best at creating all living beings and gathering luck. Therefore, in the end, I could only transform into the sky and open up the chaotic star sea, trying to give up the primordial star sea." Hearing this, Han Fei couldn't help but continue. "However, the chaotic star sea couldn't stop the ominous in the end. They went over in the end." "Yes," Hong Jun said indifferently. "In the end, I was greedy and wanted to transfer all creatures in the primordial star sea to the chaotic star sea, so I left 2 channels. One is in the light, and I personally guard it with the creation jade plate. The other is in the dark. I originally wanted to use the power of the chaotic star sea to fight back to the primordial star sea again in the future. Unfortunately." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Unfortunately, the dark path has been found?" Hong Jun nodded. "That's right, so I had no choice but to suppress it with the demon purification pot." At this moment, Han Fei finally understood the whole story. He naturally knew what happened later. The demon purification pot was uprooted by Li Daoi, and the ominous battle in the chaotic star sea officially began. When Han Fei learned the origin of the ominous, he naturally agreed with Hong Jun. With the current situation of the primordial star sea, if he could really block the opening in the Sea of Stars, there might not be enough negative side to support the ominous recovery. However, suppressing the opening in the Sea of Stars sounded simple, but it was definitely not easy to do. Han Fei asked, "Senior, I have another question. Why does the ominous want to conquer the entire primordial star sea and devour the heavenly Tao?" In Han Fei's opinion, the top powerhouse that could be born in a Sea of Stars was at most at his level. Even if he comprehended the last heavenly secret, it would only be at the same level as the ominous realm. There must be a reason why the ominous was so determined to destroy the primordial star sea and the chaotic star sea at all costs, right? Hong Jun said, "You know that the ominous is alive, right?" Han Fei nodded. Of course he knew. That was why his law of life inherently suppressed the ominous. Hongjun continued, since it's a life, where did it come from? The primordial star sea has been fighting for countless years, and countless races have died. The chaotic star sea has also been fighting for a long time, and countless ominous creatures have died. Why are there still endless and almost endless ominous creatures? Han Fei couldn't help taking a breath. Senior, do you mean that the ominous has a way to give birth to children? They have actually become a race that can reproduce? Reproduction shouldn't work for them. If you observe in the depths of the ominous mist, you will find that the way the ominous was born is very strange. At first, they were just a mass of energy, but they had vitality from the moment they were born. By devouring each other, they became stronger from the weak, and their growth speed was very fast. Until they were born with self-awareness, they almost had no breakthrough barrier. The reason why their growth speed slowed down after they were born with self-awareness was that the conscious ominous didn't want to become a resource of others. Therefore, they developed several ways to grow. Devouring each other is one way, absorbing negative energy is another way, and invading normal creatures of all races, and corroding them is the other. At this point, Hongjun suddenly asked, do you know where the source of the ominous power is? Han Fei said without thinking, of course it's the ominous mist. Where did the power of the ominous mist come from? Any kind of creature has its source of power. If ordinary people want to cultivate to the dominator realm, the resources they need to consume can be said to be an extremely huge number. In addition to resources, they also need luck, training, and hard cultivation. But have you ever seen the ominous do anything? Han Fei seemed to be enlightened. The sea of stars has fallen, but the resources of the infinite star river are actually still there. Resources are mostly dead things. Even the ominous can only affect those living resources. To be able to create so many ominous powerhouses, it must require an extremely huge amount of resources. Therefore, the ominous mist is transformed from the resources of the billions of star rivers. That's right. This is the horror of that ominous matter. It has the ability to transform resources into ominous mist, and the ominous mist carries vitality. As a result, the ominous creatures born in the mist have lived from the beginning. Therefore, in essence, it's the endless resources of the star river that give birth to endless ominous creatures. But because they lack experience, their general strength will be weaker than the cultivators of the myriad races in the same realm. Han Fei's face sank slightly. No wonder there are almost endless ominous creatures. It turns out that we are fighting against endless resources. No wonder energy crystals will be born after the ominous creatures are killed. In fact, it's a manifestation of energy gathering, the foundation to drive the ominous. Hongjun also said, unfortunately, it was too late when I discovered this. Most of the primordial star sea had already been enveloped by the ominous mist. Han Fei's heart sank. If that was the case, then the chaotic star sea was completely repeating the mistake of the primordial star sea. And if the ominous took down the primordial star sea and the chaotic star sea and completely controlled the heavenly Tao, as time passed, it was very likely to slowly create one powerful dominator-level ominous creature after another. However, this raised another question. Even if so many powerful ominous creatures appeared, what was the point? When there was only the ominous left. In these two seas of stars, what could they do? Could they live and work in peace? Unfortunately, Hongjun couldn't answer this question, because so far, the ominous hadn't taken down a complete sea of stars. At this point, Hanfei didn't ask further but said, I'm willing to try, but I'll only try once for the time being. This is because I don't know what's going on in the chaotic star sea at all. I've been here for too long, and it might be a miracle that the chaotic star sea can last until now. However, after Hanfei expressed his worry, Hongjun said, the chaotic star sea should be fine for the time being. Hanfei couldn't help but look up at the sky. Why do you say that? Hongjun said, in the past, I thought that the chaotic star sea would give birth to a top powerhouse who would go back and forth to help the primordial star sea. Therefore, with the infinite luck of the creation jade plate, I gave birth to a divine vine in the chaotic star sea that could give birth to 6 top bloodline creatures in the primordial star sea. This divine vine is closely related to the creation jade plate. Through the luck and the roots of the divine vine, we can roughly judge the current state of the chaotic star sea. Huh? Hanfei's eyes widened. Senior, did you create that divine vine? Hongjun said, no. My original intention was to nurture a few top bloodline creatures in the primordial star sea in the chaotic star sea. However, after this vine was born, it was no longer something I could dominate. It had already become an independent life form. To be honest, that divine vine might have inherited some of the characteristics of the creation jade plate. Hanfei was lost for words. That divine vine has been swallowing the luck of 6 lineages. Hongjun didn't think so. Instead, he said, it might be more appropriate to say that it's recycling the luck of 6 lineages. When the recycled luck accumulates to a certain limit, creatures of the 6 lineages will be born again. Hanfei was speechless. Fine. The 6 lineages were created by him. Now that the 6 lineages couldn't recover, there didn't seem to be anything wrong with retracting his luck. Hanfei asked, Senior, what's the current state of the chaotic star sea? Hongjun said, the creation jade plate is in your hand now. You can feel it. Hanfei's heart stirred. Although Hongjun gave him the creation jade plate, he had slept for 8,600 years and had just woken up. He didn't have the time to see what the use of the creation jade plate was. However, the demon purification pot couldn't read the specific functions of the creation jade plate at all. Just like in the past, he had to figure out the functions of the demon purification pot step by step. Hanfei immediately immersed his mind in the creation jade plate. Then, he felt some magical techniques. For example, he discovered that the creation jade plate could automatically collect and gather luck. In addition to gathering luck, it could also observe the rise and fall of the luck of creatures for a period of time in the future. Another example was that the creation jade plate could actually build on the host's strength and create any creature or item he wanted. Of course, what he created required resources, time, luck, and even some special materials. Also, the magical patterns on the creation jade plate that looked like endless star rivers turned out to be perceptions of the endless star rivers. 4. Example, the creation jade plate protected the 3,000 star seas not because it had the power of protection, but because it affected the heavenly Tao of the 3,000 star seas, and it could only affect the 3,000 star seas, anything more was beyond its reach. Through the creation jade plate, Han Fei could sense everything in the 3,000 star seas. Oh, no, Han Fei soon discovered that in fact, the protection range of the primordial star sea at this moment was less than 3,000 seas of stars, with an accurate number of 2,782 seas of stars. However, when Han Fei transformed into the heavens, he had clearly felt that the creation Pure Land once controlled 3,000 star rivers. However, after a nap, it controlled 218 star rivers less. Han Fei's heart sank. He knew why. In order to rebuild himself, the power of the creation jade plate was being consumed. Besides, he felt that the ominous mist was still advancing. This meant that in the near future, the number of star rivers protected by the creation jade plate would continue to decrease. Fortunately, the heavenly monarch here seemed to have been prepared to move some of the living stars at the edge of the star river to the center. Regarding this, Han Fei could only secretly apologize. He didn't expect that it would pay such a huge price to rebuild his body. The already pitifully small primordial purple land would even shrink a lot. Putting aside the distracting thoughts, Han Fei soon sensed some roots from the creation jade plate. They were the roots of the divine vine. He could see the luck environment where the divine vine was through the state of the roots. Han Fei could sense the environment where the divine vine was through the divine vine. The luck was steadily exhausted and would maintain this state for a short time in the future. As for how long it would affect the future, Han Fei couldn't feel it. It seemed to be very vague, as if it was covered by some power. This was just a vague feeling, but it reassured Han Fei. This meant that the sea realm was still protected and hadn't been broken through. As expected of a treasure at the same level as the demon purification pot. He had just mastered this thing and had already discovered some magical uses. Knowing that the sea realm could still be defended for the time being, Han Fei's heart stirred. In the next moment, 6 primordial purple gates appeared around Han Fei. Senior, if the divine vines were created by you, do you know about the 6 primordial purple gates? From the beginning, the primordial purple gate seemed to be closely related to the divine vine. Now that he knew the origin of the divine vine, the primordial purple gate must also be related to Hongjun. Sure enough, Hongjun said, I'm not surprised at all that this thing is with you. This is the path of 6 Daos, which is responsible for the life and death cycle of all living beings in the primordial star sea. When the primordial star sea is connected to the chaotic star sea, the dead living beings in the primordial star sea can reincarnate in the chaotic star sea through the 6 Daos. However, later, the passage between the 2 seas of stars was permanently sealed by me, so this thing can no longer enable this kind of reincarnation. So it was left in the chaotic star sea. I see. Han Fei was stunned. He couldn't help but remember that in the chaotic era, there was a large amount of primordial mist in the chaotic star sea. And everyone snatched the primordial mist to nurture and strengthen their race. It seemed that the so-called nurturing was actually just the reincarnation of the dead in the chaotic star sea. Is this also a path of reincarnation? Han Fei couldn't help but ask, was this reincarnation path of 6 Daos created by Senior? Hongjun denied, it can't be created. This is an origin law of the primordial star sea. It was first discovered from the primordial origin. It should be a manifestation of the primordial itself. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. What a coincidence. Although the path of Reincarnation was passed down by teacher prophet, it might not have been created by teacher. Han Fei couldn't help but summon the green jade stone bridge. Senior, do you know this road? This time, Hong Jun denied it. No. Han Fei couldn't help but understand. When he heard about the primordial origin, he had a guess. Although Hong Jun had transformed into the heavens and established the chaotic star sea, there were some things he couldn't establish, such as the chaos itself. Perhaps the path of reincarnation was also discovered by teacher in the source of chaos? Han Fei asked, Senior, do you need to take back the reincarnation path of 6 Daos? Hong Jun was silent for a moment. There's no need for that for now. If the passage between the two worlds is reopened, the reincarnation path of 6 Daos is more meaningful in the chaotic star sea. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Without the reincarnation path of 6 Daos, how can the creatures in the 3,000 star seas reincarnate? As soon as he said this, Han Fei couldn't help but think of the creation jade plate. Yes, the creation jade plate had the ability of creation. It could completely create another reincarnation path of 6 Daos, just like the bloodline divine tree in the chaotic star sea. Sure enough, Hong Jun said, I recreated the path of reincarnation by imitating the reincarnation path of 6 Daos. Although it's a copy, there are only 3,000 star rivers left in the primordial star sea, which is enough. Since Hong Jun had said so, Han Fei didn't argue. Although the reincarnation path of 6 Daos was useless to him, if he could win the ominous battle, it might work again. In addition to the roots of the divine vine, Han Fei also felt a sealed path. That place was filled with primordial mist and shrouded in rays of light. At the end of the mist was a door. The mud sea? Han Fei wasn't too surprised. In the chaotic star sea, the mud sea had always been known as another mysterious path, leading to the unknown. Now it seemed that the mud sea was the path in the light that Hong Jun mentioned. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, Senior, why is this road to the chaotic star sea sealed? Hong Jun said, because I discovered that the creatures in the primordial star sea represent the heavenly Tao and luck of the primordial star sea. If all the creatures really go to the chaotic star sea, in a sense, it also represents the death of the primordial star sea. It's like a house. If someone lives in it, it will gather people. If no one lives in it for a long time, it will become creepy and desolate. This is why I permanently sealed this road later. Unless after the passage is opened, countless creatures in the chaotic star sea enter the primordial star sea. That's feasible. But I can't do that. Because once the two worlds are connected, the ominous will definitely come. Han Fei nodded. Indeed, once the ominous came to him, the primordial star sea would be completely doomed. With the current state of the primordial star sea, it was indeed not suitable to open this path. After learning this, Han Fei no longer had any doubts. He had solved 80% of his doubts. Han Fei asked, Senior, where is that opening in the Sea of Stars? Primordial Star Sea, 3,000 star rivers. This world was prosperous. There were many mortals and few cultivators. The heavenly palace master was in charge of order, and the heavenly monarch suppressed all the strong masters to protect this world. In the past 8,000 years, ordinary people and cultivators naturally didn't know that there was an unparalleled great horror threatening them in the world. Only the top powerhouses above the god realm all felt heavy in their hearts. Somewhere in the 3,000 star rivers, countless ominous creatures were still triggering the ominous power to wear down the protection of the creation. Jade plate. Apart from the heavenly monarch, two sea-quelling god-level powerhouses were guarding and observing this place. The two sea-quelling gods were a man and a woman. The man was a human and was conferred the title of Supreme Tao Monarch. The woman was from the lineage of strange beasts and was conferred the title of Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy, whose name shook the 3,000 star rivers. The two of them had guarded this place for 8,600 years. At this moment, they were retreating among the rivers of stars. In front of them, not far away, the ominous mist was moving forward, quickly swallowing half of the star river, and it didn't stop until it swallowed the entire star river. The Supreme Tao Monarch was shocked. This is the third time in the past 8,000 years that the guardian divine realm has shrunk. If this goes on, how can there be a place for all living beings in hundreds of thousands of years? The Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy also sighed. But what can we do? We've tried more than once. But the otherworldly sky fiends in the outside world are too strong. In the past, the Heavenly Queen tried to fight her way out with the strength of a supreme god, but she was annihilated by a palm of the otherworldly sky fiends. I still dare not forget that scene. The Supreme Tao Monarch sighed. Why did you mention that? After this matter, the Heavenly Monarch didn't cultivate anymore. If you keep nagging and the Heavenly Monarch also rushes out, who will control the 3,000 worlds? In the future? The Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy said, there are no 3,000 worlds now. The Heavenly Monarch has become despondent, but we can't. Cough, cough. While the two of them were complaining, the voice of the Heavenly Monarch sounded behind them. If ordinary people find out that the dignified Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy is gossiping here, let's see how ashamed you can be. Ah. Greetings, Heavenly Monarch. The Nine Heavens Mystic Fairy muttered, it's the truth. You didn't cultivate all these years, but pretended to be an ordinary person and played around, calling it training. This Heavenly Monarch was not angry at this. Perhaps there were only a few top powerhouses in this world. If even these two people were afraid of him, he really had no one to talk to. It's not that he doesn't cultivate, but he doesn't dare. Suddenly, a voice that they had never heard before sounded in their ears. Even the Heavenly Monarch was shocked and his face suddenly changed. Who? In the next moment, Hanfei quietly walked out of a nearby void. The first reaction of the three of them was that it was impossible, including the Heavenly Monarch. This was because he couldn't see this person's strength at all, but he felt unprecedented pressure from this person. However, it was impossible for such a person to exist in the 3,000 star rivers of the primordial star sea. They knew very well how many strong masters there were in this world. It was impossible for such a terrifying existence to suddenly appear. Hanfei didn't choose to hide himself. After all, he still needed to open the passage to the Mud Sea and needed their help. Hanfei said, he doesn't dare to continue to cultivate, because at his level, cultivation needs to carry the heavenly Tao, not just resources. The only sea of stars left to you is too small. Hanfei saw through this Heavenly Monarch at a glance. This person had 3 pieces of star river source power, but he had put many seals on himself. Obviously, he had lived for too long and knew the 3,000 star rivers well, so even if he didn't cultivate, his understanding of the heavenly Tao increased day by day, and he would unconsciously become stronger. However, the Heavenly Tao in the primordial star sea was incomplete in the first place. How could it support a dominator? Who are you? As the Supreme Tao monarch shouted, he and the 9 heavens mystic fairy had already taken a stance to fight. Human Emperor. Human Emperor? Nonsense, how can there be a strong master like you in the world? There is no Human Emperor. Wait, are you the Human Emperor that the otherworldly sky fiends mentioned? Earlier, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor had clamored outside, trying to arouse the conflict between Han Fei and Han Jun. At that time, he had mentioned the word Human Emperor. The 9 heavens mystic fairy was vigilant and had even taken out 7 Ling-Long ball-like weapons, which was actually a supreme nature treasure level weapon. Han Fei said casually, I'm not from your world. You can understand it as me coming from the outside world. The Supreme Tao monarch and the 9 heavens mystic fairy couldn't help but look at the ominous outside the guardian divine realm of the creation jade plate. Their hearts skipped a beat as they couldn't help but wonder if Han Fei was an otherworldly sky fiend. But since he was known as the Human Emperor, he shouldn't be an otherworldly sky fiend, right? The heavenly monarch, on the other hand, was quite calm. He cupped his hands slightly. Fellow Taoist, are you from outside the 3,000 worlds? 3,000 worlds? Han Fei couldn't help but click his tongue. Good Lord, the 2 quelling gods, one called the Supreme Tao monarch, and the other called the 9 heavens mystic fairy, both sounded very powerful. However, they actually compared the 3,000 star rivers to the 3,000 worlds. Those who didn't know better would think that they were very big. Of course, if it were before when Han Fei was very weak, he would probably be quite amazed. Han Fei said, it's a long story. I'll tell you in detail when I return. The secrets of the chaotic star sea and the primordial star sea were too unbelievable for them and troublesome to explain. Han Fei had something important to do now. How could he be in the mood to explain so much? Return? Where are you going? The heavenly monarch secretly said to the Supreme Tao monarch and the 9 heavens mystic fairy via voice transmission, this person is at the same level as me. Don't talk too much. However, how could the voice transmission of the heavenly monarch hide from the current Han Fei? However, he didn't expose it. He pointed at the ominous mist where the Dominator-level ominous creatures were. When the Supreme Tao monarch and the 9 heavenly mystic fairy heard this, they were speechless. Where did this lunatic come from? Do you know what level of extraterrestrial demon it is? The heavenly monarch raised his eyebrows slightly. Fellow Taoist, although I don't know where you are from, if you didn't come from the outer domain, I'm afraid you don't know the strength of the otherworldly sky fiends at all. Even with our strength, I'm afraid we won't be able to return if we go in there. Han Fei looked at the Dominator-level ominous that was triggering the ominous mist to attack the divine realm and thought to himself, I know their strength too well. Han Fei said indifferently, you lost hundreds of worlds this time, because of me. I can't take your resources for nothing. If the 3 of you don't mind, you can come with me to the mist. I mind. At this moment, the 9 heavens mystic fairy finally said, do you know the strength of these otherworldly sky fiends? Do you think you can make a trip? They're just like that? Even if you can be on par with the heavenly monarch, it's hard to say if you can block the other party's blow. Mystic fairy, shut up. The heavenly monarch could feel the suppressing pressure on Han Fei. He guessed that Han Fei should be stronger than him. But in terms of entering the ominous mist, it wasn't that he didn't believe Han Fei, but that was a place of no return. This was the lesson of countless blood and tears. Han Fei smiled and didn't explain further. Instead, he came to the edge of the guardian divine realm of the creation jade plate with a thought. Under the shouts of the 9 heavens mystic fairy and the heavenly monarch, he still stepped out. It's over. The supreme Tao monarch was puzzled. A top powerhouse appeared out of nowhere. But he went to the outer domain to die without saying anything? The 9 heavens mystic fairy held her forehead. Who does he think he is? Even the heavenly monarch narrowed his eyes and looked at the outer domain. Together. As they expected, the moment Han Fei went out, 6 dominator-level ominous creatures immediately attacked him. When they saw Han Fei clearly, they were shocked. Human Emperor? Although they had never been to the chaotic Star Sea, Han Fei's appearance had long been engraved in their minds. Not only Han Fei, but they also knew some top powerhouses in the chaotic Star Sea. Because they had never fought Han Fei, they knew that Han Fei was powerful. But they were in the ominous mist, confident of their strength, and felt that they could fight Han Fei, so they didn't escape immediately. At this moment, the heavenly monarch and the other 2 could clearly see from the guardian domain that the power unleashed by the 6 powerhouses comparable to the heavenly monarch at the same time was enough to easily crush the 3 of them. The 9 heavens mystic fairy couldn't help but be a little absent-minded. The supreme Tao monarch sighed slightly. However, in the next moment, a broadsword beam flashed past, shining brightly. Swish. Puff. 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 The 6 dominator-level ominous creatures didn't even have the time to attack. Before they were all killed by a single slash. The law of life surged back and light shone. These 6 dominator-level ominous creatures turned into 6 energy crystals before they could even fight. Han Fei. This, so strong. At this moment, Han Fei didn't need the path of invincibility or the 10,000 blood body. He was already the top powerhouse in the Sea of Stars. The instant death of 6 dominator-level powerhouses horrified other ominous creatures with intelligence. These ominous creatures immediately drilled into the ominous mist. Looking at the surging ominous tide that was like the huge mouth of an abyss. As if it wanted to swallow everything between the heavens and earth, Han Fei's expression remained unchanged. Behind him, the Wheel of Life appeared, and the most secret river of life in the world turned into a phantom and appeared in the sky. Han Fei waved his hand, and a knife light, with invincible will, holy and dazzling divine light, and violent and ceaseless killing intent, instantly swept across all the darkness in front of him. Swish. Puff. 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 Chi. Chi. Under the shocked gaze of the heavenly monarch, the supreme Tao monarch, and the 9 heavens mystic fairy, they saw that the endless ominous mist in front of them had been cut open by someone. Wherever the knife light passed, the ominous creatures retreated. All the ominous creatures hidden in the mist near Han Fei died without exception. The 3 of them couldn't help but widen their eyes and swallow. Unconsciously. Obviously, Han Fei's strength had subverted their understanding. The heavenly monarch still remembered the scene when the heavenly queen fought her way into the outer domain. An otherworldly sky fiend killed the heavenly queen with a slap. And now, those otherworldly sky fiends that he thought were invincible couldn't even withstand a single slash from this person. Not only could they not withstand it, but even the darkness in the outer domain had been purified. And light had reappeared. The nine heavens mystic fairy covered her mouth with one hand. Is this the human emperor? A moment ago, she was mocking Han Fei, but at this moment, the latter showed her what real power was. Back then, eldest senior brother's void could kill billions of ominous creatures and sweep across the creation star compass. Now, Han Fei also felt this power. It was an absolute suppression. All resistance was meaningless in Han Fei's opinion now, because the gap was too great. This realm was almost unparalleled in the sea of stars. With just one step, he could match the power of the heavenly Tao in the entire sea of stars. If he really had such power, no matter how ominous it was, it could be destroyed with a flick of his finger. Although Han Fei hadn't reached that realm yet, he was only one step away from that realm. At this moment, Han Fei raised his hand, and billions of energy crystals gathered. Among them, there were thousands of energy crystals above the Doomsday level, and countless energy crystals of other levels. Han Fei looked back at the three of them, who immediately refreshed. Seeing this, the heavenly monarch didn't hesitate at all. With a thought, he led the nine heavens mystic fairy and the supreme Tao monarch out of the guardian divine realm. This was one of the few times in their lives that they had stepped out of the guardian divine realm and come to the outer domain. At this moment, dense energy crystals floated around Han Fei like stars. Fu Tian greets you, Senior. The nine heavens mystic fairy and the supreme Tao monarch were no longer as casual as before. They hurriedly said respectfully, Greetings, Senior. Han Fei thought to himself, You're much older than me, but he was too lazy to explain. He said, This happened because of me, but you can rest assured. Even if your guardian divine realm will shrink a little, it will soon stop shrinking. As for these energy crystals, I'll give them to you. However, this is not enough. Walk with me for a while. Yes, Senior. Although the heavenly monarch and the other two also wanted to know what had happened to make the guardian divine realm shrink, and where Han Fei came from, and why he had a conflict with these otherworldly sky fiends. Seeing that Han Fei had no intention of saying it, the three didn't dare to ask. Han Fei asked them to accompany him for a while. Although the three of them were unwilling, they knew that this was the most important change in their lives. With such a strong master in front of them, if they still didn't dare to step into the outer domain, from now on, it was impossible for them to understand the outer domain. Han Fei didn't walk slowly, which was exactly the speed that the sea quelling god could catch up with. In a moment, the four of them arrived at the end of the knife light just now. Here, the knife intent was still strong. Even though the power of this knife had dissipated, the knife intent spreading here was still not something that the ominous mist could penetrate at will. When Han Fei and the others arrived, they found that countless ominous creatures had already gathered here. Among them, there was a Dominator level ominous creature that appeared completely in human form. Its strength shouldn't be weak, not something other Dominator level ominous creatures could compare to. In addition to that special Dominator level ominous creature, there were as many as 80 other Dominator level ominous creatures. Obviously, the ominous creatures wanted to completely kill Han Fei in one go. After all, even the death god might not be able to resist this number of Dominator-level ominous creatures, let alone Han Fei. It wasn't that Han Fei overestimated eldest senior brother, but that the void Power controlled by eldest senior brother was too mysterious and domineering. As for the master of time, he directly ignored him. It was impossible for the 6 divine techniques of time to resist so many dominator-level ominous creatures. As for the death god, although Han Fei didn't know if the death god had some large-scale offensive divine techniques, if he could really block such a power, the Sea Realm wouldn't have been reduced to being defeated on the first battlefield. Behind Han Fei, the faces of the heavenly monarch and the other two changed drastically. How many otherworldly sky fiends were there in front of him? Especially the leading one, it had almost completely turned into a human and was difficult to tell if it was really a human. Even the heavenly monarch was terrified. An otherworldly sky fiend of this level was already invincible. He was tense at this moment. Once Han Fei was defeated, he would immediately leave with the Supreme Tao Monarch and the 9 Heavens Mystic Fairy. Fortunately, this place was not far from the Guardian Divine Realm. The 9 Heavens Mystic Fairy said via voice transmission, "Is this the outer domain? It's simply too dangerous. We're no match for these sky fiends at all. Heavenly Monarch, why don't we tell Senior that we want to go back first?" The Supreme Tao Monarch also swallowed. "For the first time I feel so weak. Here, it seems that every otherworldly sky fiend can crush me." The Heavenly Monarch replied, "Be confident. It doesn't seem that any random one of them can kill you." The Heavenly Monarch took a deep look at Han Fei's back and didn't speak in the end. He didn't believe that the appearance of such a strong master had no deeper meaning. At this moment, those ominous creatures didn't attack immediately. After the leading dominator-level ominous saw Han Fei, his voice was cold. "I didn't expect that the broken heavenly Tao could revive you so quickly. Human Emperor, we knew that you would appear, but we didn't expect you to stay in the primordial star sea. Do you really think we didn't prepare anything?" "Oh?" Han Fei smiled casually. "Is it something specially prepared for me? Then I'll give you a chance to show it." The Dominator frowned. Han Fei had clearly become stronger. He could cause such an uproar the moment he appeared. However, no matter how strong he was, it was only 8,000 years. How strong could he be? "Since you haven't returned, stay here forever." The Dominator-level ominous pushed his palm forward, and the ominous mist that spanned a star river surged like a tide, instantly slapping the remnants of the knife light that Han Fei slashed out. Buzz. Sizzle. However, when the two powers collided, the Dominator-level ominous creature's expression changed slightly. The power unleashed by Han Fei's knife light exceeded his imagination. According to the information he had learned, although Han Fei was very strong, he only had the combat power of 30 pieces of Star River source power at his peak state. However, the power of this slash was several times stronger than he had expected. This person couldn't help but guess. Could it be that in just 8,600 years, his strength could still soar in this broken primordial star sea? The ominous didn't know the function of the fruit of creation, nor would it expect that Han Fei's current combat power had reached the level of eldest senior brother. Therefore, although this round of confrontation was meant to test him, it was also a bit disdainful of him. Humph. Ultimate Dark Dragon Breath. This Dominator-level ominous guessed that Han Fei's strength might have increased, but he didn't care. As the laws on his body surged, the power in the surrounding dozens of star rivers was triggered and attacked like a tide. In the ominous mist, behind the ominous Dominator, 9 black dragons, tens of Thousands of kilometers long and carrying infinite energy suddenly appeared. Huff. Huff. 10 dragon breaths, like 10 divine flames, each with the power of dozens of star rivers, spewed at Han Fei. Behind Han Fei, the 9 heavens mystic fairy and the supreme Tao monarch were still in a fighting posture, but the heavenly monarch stood in front of him and said solemnly, "We can't defeat them. We just need to trust this senior." Although he said that he believed Han Fei knew that the heavenly monarch was already prepared to run away at any time. If he was defeated, he would take the two of them away immediately. There was no telling if he really knew that if even Han Fei couldn't resist this power, would they really have a chance to leave? However, facing the 10 dark dragons formed by the ominous mist, Han Fei couldn't help but smile contemptuously. He raised one hand, and countless laws in the ominous mist were forcibly deprived by him. In the next moment, billions of divine lightning bolts burst out here. In the sea of lightning, the power of lightning gathered and turned into lightning flood dragons. In the blink of an eye, there were tens of thousands of them. Boom. 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 So strong. How can he be so strong? Not only the heavenly monarch and the other two, but even the dominator level ominous creature was also stunned. Han Fei's strength had completely exceeded 30 pieces of Star River source power. He must have some experience in controlling the heavenly Tao. He was completely a super powerhouse at the level of the masters of the 3 temples. Bang! 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 The 10 ominous dragons were instantly pierced through, but the huge lightning sea didn't calm down. Instead, it went straight for the dominator level. Ominous. Han Fei said leisurely, "It seems that the ominous doesn't have many means of its own. Even this kind of divine technique can only be learned from other races. Now, let me see what you have prepared to deal with me. My time is limited and I don't have more time to watch you perform. Don't be arrogant." The dominator level ominous immediately roared, and a small black bottle appeared in its hand. There was no need to guess what was in the bottle. It could only be the ominous substance. Sure enough, the dominator level ominous poured out a bottle of ominous matter. Among them, half of the ominous matter surrounded him, and the other half was scattered in the endless ominous mist and the bodies of the other dominator-level ominous creatures on this trip. The ominous matter rolled up endless waves again and pounced at Han Fei and the others. This time, Han Fei knew that the purification power of the Sea of Lightning alone might not be able to resist it. Humph. Between Han Fei's eyebrows, the invincible eye opened. On his body, the will of a supreme erupted, shaking the world. The surrounding endless laws gathered and compressed under Han Fei's will. The invincible will turned into a magnificent divine body, tens of millions of feet tall and imposing. Behind Han Fei, the wheel of life appeared and spun. He raised his hands, and dazzling divine light emerged from his palms. As Han Fei roared, countless chains of the law of life extended out of the entire sea of stars and poured into the ominous mist. Behind Han Fei, divine brilliance was born between the heavens and earth. Countless laws turned into runes and gathered like a tide, forming a sea of brilliance that could almost cross a star river. Clatter. A brilliance bloomed in the darkness, and a large number of ominous creatures were directly purified and baptized. It was like a ray of light suddenly rose in the darkness before dawn. This light became brighter and hotter, as if it was a flame that could burn the soul. At that moment, the three of them felt that Han Fei was not a person at all, but a world that controlled the heavenly Tao of this sea of stars. Under the brilliance, the entire star river, even the ominous mist of the nearby star rivers, was dispersed. Under such circumstances, human wave tactics were meaningless. The ominous creatures below the Dominator level couldn't resist this supreme divine might at all. As for the Dominator level ominous creatures, they were all fighting with all their strength and had no chance to surround Han Fei. This was like a burly adult man surrounded by 70 or 80 children. It wasn't that they couldn't fight, but that when the adult men erupted, who dared to fight? Whoever went up first would die first. Of course, Han Fei's purification ability was not invincible. The ominous mist was indeed dispersed by him. However, less than 30% of the ominous matter released from the small bottle seemed to have been annihilated. The rest turned into a big net in the void and pounced at Han Fei. Seeing this scene, Han Fei frowned slightly. Can't even such a power annihilate it? If this ominous substance was so powerful, how did eldest senior brother deal with it in the past? If the other party took out 8 or 10 bottles, how could he fight it? However, at this moment, Han Fei had no time to think about how to annihilate this ominous matter. He pushed with one hand, and the time river appeared behind him, and the time-sealing sky lock appeared in front of him. At the same time, Han Fei flipped his hand and the demon purification pot appeared. Since the ominous matter was released from the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate, the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate naturally had a way to take them in again. Treasures at the level of the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate were autonomous. Therefore, the moment the demon purification pot appeared, the ominous matter gave up attacking Han Fei and quickly entered the bodies of the more than 80 Dominator-level ominous creatures. Huh? Is this thing really active and has an autonomous consciousness? Han Fei didn't believe that this thing had no consciousness. If it didn't have consciousness and could only attack instinctively, how could it have run away when it saw the demon purification pot? How could it have disappeared into the bodies of so many Dominator-level ominous creatures at once? At this moment, the Dominator-level ominous creatures that were invaded by the ominous matter suddenly seemed to fall into madness, and their strength soared. Originally, these Dominator-level ominous creatures might only control 2 or 3 pieces, at most 7 or 8 pieces of Star River source power, but with the enhancement of this ominous matter, their strength almost doubled. And even the weakest had 5 or 6 pieces of Star River source power. Faced with this situation, Han Fei just smiled casually. Even if your strength doubles, so what? Seeing that the ominous matter had all fused into the bodies of these Dominators, Han Fei no longer hesitated. He raised his foot and took a step in the void, and the other 8 identical Han Fei appeared beside him. The time-splitting technique was indeed an extremely powerful divine technique. As long as the battlefield was fixed and Han Fei was given enough time, he was even sure that even if the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor came in person, he could still kill him. But even so, the heavenly monarch and the others were dumbfounded. They had only left the guardian divine realm for a moment, but the dazzling power made them dizzy. Although the heavenly monarch and the 9 heavens mystic fairy weren't strong enough, they were still knowledgeable. The great Tao of time, the law of life, the path of invincibility. They were all extremely rare paths, but this person had walked them to this extent. Therefore, they were a little numb now. Perhaps only strong masters of this level could kill the otherworldly sky fiends to this extent? At this moment, the 9 Han Fei attacked at the same time. An old body wielded the primordial 8 fierce swords. An old body controlled the creation mystic yellow tower. An old body controlled the law enforcement divine chain. Han Fei, on the other hand, held the blood sky blade and attacked. The strongest dominator-level ominous creature had swallowed half a bottle of ominous matter, and its strength and momentum had soared. But even so, when the combat power of the two sides collided, it was punched back by Han Fei. Bam! 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 As the two sides fought, billions of rays of light burst out of the sea of stars, and the laws that filled the sky shattered and recombined. The ominous creature tried to corrode Han Fei with the ominous substance. However, with the enhancement of the invincible will and the supreme will, even if Han Fei really fought the other party, the ominous substance couldn't wrap around Han Fei in an instant. In particular, Han Fei was in an invincible state in battle, both his body and soul immune to any physical and soul attacks. Impossible. It's only been 8,000 years. Why has your strength been raised to the limit of the sea of stars? However, when he increased his strength to 49 pieces of Star River origin, he found that Han Fei's combat power had always been at 49 pieces of Star River origin. Besides, Han Fei had the supreme will, the invincible will, and the Tao of Slaughter God. Even if his strength was increased to this point, he was no match for Han Fei at all. Seeing this, the Dominator-level Ominous immediately knew that they couldn't win this battle. Although there were 80 Dominator-level Ominous creatures here, if Han Fei's old bodies he summoned all had 49 pieces of Star River source power, not to mention 80 Dominators, even 180 wouldn't be enough to kill them. After all, Han Fei wasn't Shenlu or time. This was someone who had mastered the law of life. However, as soon as he wanted to retreat and escape, Han Fei didn't give him a chance at all. Unknowingly, the time sky ceiling lock had been set up. Obviously, Han Fei had known from the beginning that he would try to escape. At this moment, there were many Dominator-level ominous creatures who wanted to escape. Han Fei didn't even need to set up the time sky ceiling lock, because this Star River had been purified by him. The heavenly Tao here was almost completely suppressed by Han Fei alone. It could even be said that he was the heavenly Tao here. As a result, even if these Dominator-level ominous creatures wanted to escape, they couldn't instantly move several stars away. They could only run with their legs. However, how could they escape? In less than 100 seconds, the heavenly monarch and the other two saw countless stars retreat quickly. Thousands of voids collapsed, and nearly half of the Star River here was almost destroyed. And less than half of the otherworldly sky fiends that they regarded as extremely powerful had been killed by Han Fei alone. The Supreme Tao Monarch swallowed. Heavenly Monarch. Aren't those 8 clones? Why are his clones so powerful? The 9 Heavens Mystic Fairy also nodded quickly. Yes. These clones are ridiculously strong. However, the heavenly monarch looked solemn and shook his head slightly. These are not clones. If I'm not wrong, it's a magical technique of the great Tao of Time. The 9 people we saw are all original bodies. The difference is that the 8 venerables are all from different timelines. What? How is that possible? How can the heavenly Tao allow this cheating method of fighting? The heavenly monarch frowned. Perhaps I'm not very accurate. The other 8 seniors we saw shouldn't exist at all. Instead, they launched attacks at different times. Through the flow of time, they burst out with power in the old timeline and appeared at this time. Look, Senior and the otherworldly sky. Fiend fought thousands of times in an instant. Senior completed countless attacks in advance. It's simply amazing. I didn't expect there to be such a terrifying divine technique in this world. How well have you mastered the great Tao of time? Is it so complicated? An attack from the past has an effect in the present. What realm is this Senior in? I don't know. The heavenly monarch shook his head. This power, not to mention the 9 heaven's mystic fairy and the others, was completely different from what he could do. Another 100 seconds later. In this starry river that had almost been destroyed, 80 Dominator level ominous creatures had all died. Only one Dominator level ominous was trapped in the time sky ceiling lock by Han Fei, unable to retreat or charge forward. If it weren't for the ominous substance, it might have been killed by Han Fei. Shut up. When this guy was pierced by the demon purification pot, the ominous power in his body and the ominous matter were absorbed by the demon purification pot. And his strength was declining at a visible speed. In addition, Han Fei had cut off his river of life. Death was his only destination. Han Fei said leisurely, "If you die, you'll be gone." I said so. So, you don't have to worry about me. Roar. As the Dominator level ominous roared hysterically, all the ominous creatures in this place were eliminated. Han Fei curled his lips and looked back at the 3 of them. All the energy crystals here are yours. Huh? In this moment, Han Fei had conquered dozens of star rivers alone and obtained countless energy crystals, but he didn't take any at all, as if he didn't care about them at all. This made them even more convinced that Han Fei was in a realm that they couldn't understand. The heavenly monarch cupped his hands. Senior, can you tell me what's going on? In the primordial star sea, their history might have long passed. And the heavenly monarch didn't have enough strength to resonate with Hong Jun, who had turned into the heavenly Tao, so he couldn't learn any useful information from Hong Jun, let alone know what the real world was like. Han Fei thought for a moment. There were indeed some things that he should tell. He couldn't let others be in the dark. He flicked his finger, and a wisp of spiritual consciousness gathered into a crystal and appeared in front of the heavenly monarch. Han Fei said, "Go back and take a look. After all, this is not a place to stay for long. It won't be long before these dozens of star rivers are covered by the ominous mist again." The heavenly monarch was overjoyed. He knew that there were definitely many unknown secrets in it. However, the heavenly monarch was stunned. Senior, aren't you going back to the guardian divine realm? Han Fei shook his head. I still have something to do, and the road ahead is not something you can participate in. If necessary, I will come to you later. With that, Han Fei's body glowed with divine light. He walked further away into the ominous mist with a knife, until he disappeared into the ominous mist and turned into a light spot in the ominous mist. The heavenly monarch held the spiritual consciousness crystal and issued an order in his heart, and the scattered energy crystals began to be collected. The 9 heavens mystic fairy and the supreme Tao monarch felt as if they were in a dream. The supreme Tao monarch's eyes flickered. I wonder if I can reach such a realm in my life? The 9 heavens mystic fairy sneered. Don't even think about it. You don't even know what realm this is. However, in the conversation between Senior and the otherworldly sky fiends just now, you mentioned the chaotic star sea. I wonder where that is? Previously, the otherworldly sky fiends also clamored outside the guardian divine realm, saying that the first battlefield of the chaotic star sea had been penetrated. Is there another pure land outside the 3,000 worlds? The heavenly monarch said leisurely, that's for sure. This Senior is clearly not from our side. Stop chatting. A collision of power at this level is too powerful for you and me to participate. The star river I can control is limited. The two of you quickly go to the neighboring star river to collect these energy crystals and then return to the guardian god realm. Okay. In the ominous mist, Han Fei was walking alone. Along the way, no dominator level ominous came to stop him. The ominous knew that at his level, it was no longer easy to stop him. Only the ominous mist along the way had been trying to corrode Han Fei. However, the ominous aura alone clearly couldn't obliterate Han Fei. Of course, in the vast primordial star sea, with billions of star rivers, it was almost impossible for Han Fei to purify this primordial mist. Even if he could, it would take countless years. Han Fei's current strength had reached the theoretical limit of the sea of stars, so even though the entire sea of stars was enveloped by the ominous mist, he was still moving forward, but at a slightly slower speed. 1 year. 3 years. Anything that blocked his way was destroyed. At the same time, he was sensing the changes in the luck of the divine vine in the chaotic star sea. He had already made up his mind that once the luck of the divine vine changed, he would immediately abandon this operation and return to the chaotic star sea. After all, compared to that opening of the sea of stars, the chaotic star sea was more important. However, the reason why he listened to Hongjuan's suggestion to go to the Sea of Stars first was naturally that if he could seal that place again, he could change the current predicament of the chaotic star sea and the primordial star sea in one fell swoop. At that time, when he returned to the chaotic star sea, he could gradually take back the chaotic star sea, even fight his way into the primordial star sea, or even fight his way back to the opening in the Sea of Stars. Along the way, Han Fei traveled and killed for 18 years. Finally, he saw a collapsing star river. Yes, this couldn't be considered a breach in the Sea of Stars anymore. What Han Fei saw was a collapsed star river. In this star river, all the stars had collapsed, forming a hole, but it was completely different from a black hole. As if a hole had been stabbed in the sky. Here, Han Fei saw a massive number of ominous creatures, including more than 400 dominators. Besides, at the core of the opening in the Sea of Stars, Han Fei saw a total of 1,203 big cocoons, all connected to the pipes of a twisted ominous vine. It was impossible for Han Fei not to recognize the creatures in these big cocoons. They were Dominator-level ominous creatures. In other words, there were as many as 1,600 Dominator-level ominous creatures that were going to be born here. Damn it. Even though Han Fei's strength had reached the peak of the Sea of Stars, he couldn't help but curse at this moment. When had he ever seen so many Dominators? If these Dominators could enter the chaotic star sea at the same time, they might only need once to penetrate the chaotic star sea. Besides, he saw as many as 12 passages to the chaotic star sea here. Yes, the passages were like huge wells. Dense runes flickered beside the wells, looking like countless super arrays. Han Fei saw with his own eyes that groups of ominous creatures were pouring into some of the wells at all times. However, the ominous creatures that surged into the well were not in a high realm. Most of them had no intelligence. However, there were very few ominous creatures in the 5 of the wells. And these 5 wells corresponded to destruction level, world-ending level, doomsday level, god-slaying level, and dominator level. This could be seen at a glance. The number of destruction level ominous creatures was relatively not small. There were hundreds of millions of ominous creatures queuing up. But at the world-ending level, there were only 1 million people queuing up. And at the doomsday level, which corresponded to the divine realm, there were only a few hundred people queuing up. As for the god slaying level, there were even only dozens of ominous creatures. As for the dominator level, only one was entangled by various runes and had been waiting here for a long time. Obviously, even if it was the ominous, it wasn't easy to go to the chaotic Star Sea from the primordial Star Sea. This explained why the ominous was accumulating strength and waiting before launching a large-scale attack. Obviously, it would take them a lot of time to send a dominator-level ominous into the primordial Star Sea. However, he didn't know how long it would take. Unless he could stay here for a long time to observe. But clearly, the ominous wouldn't give him this chance. However, this trip was not in vain. At least he knew that ominous creatures were restricted from entering the chaotic Star Sea. He had only stayed in the primordial Star Sea for more than 8,000 years. Even if the ominous was constantly sending dominator-level ominous to the chaotic Star Sea, there couldn't be many of them. If this matter was easy, the chaotic Star Sea would have long been conquered. However, Han Fei couldn't help being curious at this moment. If the efficiency of teleporting powerful ominous creatures through this passage was very low, how did the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor pass through? In the past 8,000 years, the other party had returned twice. Logically speaking, the primordial Tao ancestor was in existence above the dominator level. It should be even more difficult for such a strong master to reach the chaotic Star Sea. However, not only had the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor passed, but he had also almost conquered the first battlefield. Therefore, the passages he saw were definitely not all of them. Or rather, the ominous had other ways to enter the chaotic Star Sea. However, the price of the other ways was definitely not small. Otherwise, as he said, the chaotic Star Sea would have long been conquered. At this moment, Han Fei had already come this far. He had to fight. Besides, the dominator-level ominous creatures had already noticed him. Or rather, they had been waiting for him. Han Fei shouted, "Sorry to keep you waiting. You really think highly of me." Swish swish swish. From the 400 dominator-level ominous creatures, 4 dominator-level ominous creatures that looked extremely strong appeared in a row. If he guessed right, these 4 should be on the same level as the ominous creature he had killed before that could increase its strength to 49 pieces of star river source power. At this moment, Han Fei was a little speechless. If it was such a quantitative confrontation, even if he had the time-splitting technique, he didn't dare to use it. Although he could use 9 of his old bodies, he could only use 1 demon purification pot. And this place could be said to be the source of the ominous. So far, needless to say, there must be a large number of ominous substances. With Han Fei's current strength, he couldn't obliterate much ominous matter. He had to cooperate with the demon purification pot to block the invasion of the ominous matter. Therefore, once he used the time-splitting technique, as long as one of his old bodies was contaminated by the ominous matter, his original body would still be contaminated by the ominous matter. The ominous had been in contact with the time temple for a long time. It was impossible for them not to know the ability of the time-splitting technique. When he was out of the guardian divine realm, Han Fei had no scruples, but here, he would never use the time-splitting technique. This meant that he had to fight so many enemies himself. Fortunately, Han Fei had comprehended the third level of the path of invincibility. Otherwise, he could have returned home immediately. It would be awesome if he could escape. One of the 4 strong masters said, "Human Emperor, it seems that you have reached the ultimate realm in the Sea of Stars. Although it's unexpected, do you think it's possible for you to seal this place again even if you come with the demon purification pot?" Han Fei snorted. "How will I know if I don't try?" Boom. Han Fei turned into lightning marks that filled the sky and immediately rushed to the location of the 12 passages. If he couldn't seal this place with the demon purification pot, destroying these passages could also prevent the ominous creatures in the primordial star sea from continuously entering the chaotic star sea. Of course, the ominous creatures were not stupid. Since they had been waiting for Han Fei, they certainly wouldn't let Han Fei destroy the passage between the 2 worlds so easily. Almost at the same time, the 4 Dominator-level ominous creatures erupted at the same time, and they could completely keep up with Han Fei's speed. The moment Han Fei appeared, the 4 of them all followed Han Fei. In an instant, Han Fei threw out the demon purification pot and slashed at the passages between the 2 worlds with the immortal slaying knife. Unfortunately, among the 4 of them, except for one who managed to restrain the demon purification pot, the other 3 attacked at the same time, using their unparalleled divine might to fight Han Fei. In an instant, ripples shook, and the law collapsed, but Han Fei failed. As for the 400 Dominator-level ominous creatures, they didn't help him immediately, but triggered a large amount of ominous mist at the same time, sweeping Han Fei. The ominous mist couldn't be touched in the first place. In the chaotic star sea, only Senior Brother Undead and the Emperor Sparrow could enter and leave the mist without any pressure. Although others could enter, they needed to disperse their strength to resist and purify the ominous mist. But Senior Brother Undead and the Emperor Sparrow were different. They could directly eat it. Han Fei didn't know how the Emperor Sparrow was doing now, but Senior Brother Undead had even snatched the ominous coffin and carried it on his back, but he still didn't become ominous. At this moment, Han Fei knew that these 4 people must have used the ominous matter in advance. Otherwise, how could they have reached the level of 49 pieces of Star River source power so easily? Seeing this, Han Fei didn't flinch at all. He waved his hand and the demon purification pot appeared in his hand as he continued to rush towards the passages. He didn't believe that these Dominator-level ominous creatures would dare to resist the demon purification pot head-on. In the past, when the demon purification pot's 10 vines were not fully retracted, it was indeed not strong enough. Even if its 9 vines were already unparalleled, it couldn't swallow and kill too many ominous creatures at once. However, after the 10th vine returned, even if it was a peak level ominous dominator, it could still suck it to death with some time. Sure enough, this time, the 4 dominators didn't fight Han Fei head-on, but bombarded him from a distance to stop him. Han Fei saw hope and immediately continued to destroy a passage. In the sky, on the ground and on his left and right, a kind of gray thing suddenly appeared. What else could it be but the ominous matter? Obviously, the ominous creatures knew that Han Fei would try to destroy the passages between the two worlds, so they had already set up an inescapable net with ominous matter. Of course, they knew the ability of the demon purification pot, so they didn't expect to take Han Fei down with this blow. The four of them stood proudly in all directions at the same time, setting up an ominous ball cage condensed from ominous mist. Outside, the ominous mist tide triggered by more than 400 Dominator level ominous creatures crazily poured into the cage. Han Fei was not frightened by the ominous matter. The demon purification pot was not a decoration. When the net pounced at him, the demon purification pot had already drilled a hole in it. Seeing this, Han Fei slashed out with all his strength with the blood sky blade. Sacred brilliance enveloped him, and the supreme will triggered the world. He slashed open the ominous ball cage set up by the four of them. In the next moment, Han Fei jumped and moved thousands of kilometers horizontally. He stomped, and a lightning ring instantly crushed the surrounding void billions of kilometers. At the same time, lightning fire grew and began to spread. Even though the ominous mist covered the sky and the earth, it couldn't quickly extinguish the fire. Instead, most of it was instantly annihilated by the lightning fire and the ominous mist in the void. Billions of kilometers was cleared up. Han Fei said, "You should know that these can't trap me. Although you have 49 pieces of Star River source power, you are not on the same level as me." It wasn't that Han Fei despised a few Dominator-level ominous creatures, but it was the truth. Did the ominous have a supreme will? Did the ominous have an invincible will? Was the ominous killing intent stronger than his? Could the ominous dominate the pure power of lightning? Could the ominous control the law of life? Neither, which was why Han Fei dared to fight. Although the ominous matter was difficult to deal with, the demon purification pot was not a decoration. The dual immunity effect of the invincible body could also avoid this power. Unless he was enveloped by this thing for a long time, just like when he was forcibly brought into the primordial star sea, the ominous matter could forget about contaminating him. After all, if the ominous matter could contaminate Han Fei at any time, the chaotic star sea would have long been defeated. Of course, Han Fei could guarantee that he wouldn't be contaminated, but he had to admit that these guys did have the strength to hold him back. With this in mind, Han Fei didn't intend to continue fighting with the four of them. It didn't make much sense. Since the passages between the two worlds couldn't be destroyed, he could only try to kill the 400 Dominator level ominous creatures first. If he could successfully kill these Dominator level ominous creatures, it would be a good thing. Otherwise, when these things entered the chaotic star sea, they would be another big threat. When Han Fei charged at the 400 Dominator level ominous creatures, the 4 peak level Dominator level ominous creatures naturally joined the battlefield. Bang! 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 Boom, boom, boom. In just a moment, within this star river, a fierce battle erupted. Ripples shook and purifying brilliance shone, creating a truly earth-shattering spectacle. However, not long after the battle began, Han Fei's heart became heavy. It wasn't that he was no match for them, but that he discovered that his river of Life was almost ineffective near the Sea of Stars void. Most of the Dominator-level ominous creatures were still far weaker than Han Fei. Under normal circumstances, Han Fei could easily cut off their river of life and purify or destroy them. But this time, the law of life was distorted. Every time he activated the law of life, a dark power would touch the river of life and corrode the law of life. This was the first time Han Fei had encountered such a situation. After fighting for a full hour, Han Fei finally killed about 21 Dominator-level ominous creatures under the siege of the 4 peak-level Dominator-level ominous creatures. However, only 3 of them were really killed by him. And these 3 didn't die by Han Fei's own hands, but by the demon purification pot. At this moment, someone among the 4 leading ominous creatures sneered. In this place, we are immortal. Even if you master the law of life, it's useless. And his invincible body could be maintained without stopping. Han Fei didn't seem to hear the other party's mockery. His endless methods quickly changed and rotated. After only 3 hours of fierce fighting, the demon purification pot had killed 10 Dominator-level ominous creatures. These Dominator-level ominous creatures also realized that Han Fei was difficult to deal with. Under the order of the 4 top powerhouses, they all retreated. Seeing these Dominator-level ominous creatures retreat to the center of the opening in the Sea of Stars, Han Fei was about to attack, when he saw that the bodies of these 400 Dominator-level ominous creatures all emitted a wisp of ominous matter. When these ominous substances gathered more and more, they gradually gathered into a human shape. At this moment, the 4 strong masters didn't continue to attack but stood behind the person. At this moment, Han Fei had also stopped and confronted the ominous person who had condensed. This person was dressed ordinary and expressionless. However, the moment he attacked, Han Fei seemed to feel that what he was facing was not a person at all, but a world, a sea of stars. This was the second time Han Fei had this feeling. The previous time was when he and Shiman Linglan looked at the land of no return in the long river of the world and saw the ominous, beyond the Dominator rank fighting eldest senior brother. Ominous level? This time, Han Fei didn't attack immediately but shouted. He was shocked. How could there be so many ominous level powerhouses? But if the other party still had such a powerhouse, why didn't he go to the chaotic Star Sea? If he went there, there would be 2 Dominator-level ominous creatures attacking together, then how could the myriad races resist them? Han Fei returned to his peak state in a few seconds, but from this moment, he knew that it was impossible to put the demon purification pot back. After all, he had just advanced to this realm and didn't have much experience fighting the ominous. In just a few rounds, he was almost beaten out of the Sea of Stars. However, the ominous creature made of ominous matter appeared in front of Han Fei in an instant expressionlessly. Swish! 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 The 2 of them flashed quickly in the Star River, and in a second, the 2 of them shuttled nearly 100 times. Han Fei wrapped his body with his invincible will and activated the draw technique, but he was pressed down by the other party's palm. The ominous slapped back at Han Fei, but Han Fei didn't retreat but advanced. His body was shining with divine brilliance, and he spewed out the supreme sword intent from his mouth. The other party didn't seem to care at all. He continued to slap, as if he wanted to break Han Fei's invincible body. At that moment, with the protection of the invincible body, Han Fei took the blow forcibly. In exchange, he created a sword to break the situation and cut off the ominous arms. Last time Han Fei fought the ominous body of the primordial Dao ancestor, he was mainly beaten and had almost no room to fight back. This time, he really felt the horror of the ominous level. As expected of the ominous level. After only fighting this ominous level creature for a moment, Han Fei felt tremendous pressure. He couldn't imagine how his eldest senior brother had fought this thing for thousands of years. The battle was still going on. The ominous level creature tried to break Han Fei's invincible body by exchanging injuries. However, the invincible body controlled the power of the world and could fight continuously. In addition, Han Fei had the supreme will. Even if they fought for a day and a night, neither side could do anything to the other. However, the other party didn't just have this ominous level powerhouse. The other 4 strong masters and the 400 dominator level ominous also participated in the battle. Although only the 4 strong masters could keep up with Han Fei's speed, it still caused Han Fei to be outnumbered. In a day, he was bombarded tens of thousands of times. Of course, on this day, Han Fei almost killed all the 4 strong masters, but the other party recovered in the blink of an eye. Such a high-intensity battle gave Han Fei no chance to attack ordinary Dominator-level ominous creatures. Many times, Han Fei wanted to use the time-splitting technique, but he held himself back in the end. If he guessed right, the other party might be waiting for him to do that. In the end, Han Fei retreated from this opening in the Sea of Stars. However, after he retreated, even the ominous level powerhouse didn't chase him. Huh? Han Fei was slightly surprised. The other party was so strong. How could they not chase him? Han Fei grinned and said to the ominous level creature, "So, you actually don't dare to leave the protection of this opening in the Sea of Stars?" One of the dominators said coldly, "You think too highly of yourself. I didn't chase you just because there's no need. Human Emperor, neither of us can do anything to the other. Although you are powerful, you are at most at the level of void. However, strong masters like you are limited after all. You can only protect yourself at most. You can't do anything else." Han Fei sneered. "You have no right to speak here. Hey, aren't you above the Dominator level? Why aren't you speaking?" From the moment this ominous level creature was born, it had never opened its mouth. The other party was like a combat puppet without any expression. The ominous level creature still didn't speak, but just looked at Han Fei quietly. In fact, Han Fei was also full of doubts. Although he said that they didn't dare to leave the Sea of Stars, the ominous level ominous creatures and the for Dominator level ominous creatures actually shouldn't be afraid of it. Anyway, he couldn't kill them. In the next moment, he charged into the Sea of Stars again. This time, his goal was clear. He went straight for the 400 Dominator level ominous creatures. Of course, the ominous level and the 4 strong masters wouldn't let Han Fei succeed easily. In this battle, the 2 sides fought fiercely for 3 days and 3 nights before Han Fei managed to catch a Dominator-level ominous. With the help of the time-sky sealing lock and the demon purification pot. Yes, he grabbed the Dominator-level ominous and dragged it out of the opening in the Sea of Stars. However, the moment he tried to take the Dominator-level ominous out of the area covered by the opening in the Sea of Stars, an extremely domineering power suddenly condensed. Immediately afterward, without Han Fei doing anything, the Dominator-level ominous was swept by a sudden light of Purification and instantly purified, leaving only an energy crystal. Huh? But who could have expected that there was an invisible barrier in this world, which didn't seem to allow them to walk out of this opening in the sea of stars at all? Han Fei realized why they gave up attacking him. No wonder so many strong masters of the ominous didn't attack the remaining guardian god realm in the primordial star sea. It turned out that they couldn't come out at all. This opening in the sea of stars was blocked by an invisible barrier, and it had the power to instantly kill them. In that case, were the 12 well-liked passages in the opening of the Sea of Stars really leading to the chaotic star sea? This time, Han Fei was a little uncertain. These ominous creatures were clearly trapped. Their first thought should not be how to go to the chaotic star sea, but how to leave this sealed space. If the 12 passages didn't lead to the chaotic star sea, they could only be passages to break through this invisible barrier, and the exit of the passages was very likely in the primordial star sea. Seeing that Han Fei had seen through the secret here, one of the dominators said coldly, "Human Emperor, don't think that you've discovered a shocking secret. This barrier is extremely unstable and may break at any time. Once we go out of here, no one can stop us. Not even you." Han Fei sneered. "Who are you fooling? Come out if you have balls." Han Fei couldn't help but feel much more relaxed. His original purpose of going here was to use the demon purification pot to seal this place again. But, to his surprise, there was already some kind of seal barrier here. Although he didn't know who created this seal barrier, it was clearly the ominous enemy. Otherwise, how could he enter and leave at will?